Sir, you're charged with especially aggravated kidnapping. You're also charged with aggravated assault, and you're charged with theft of a firearm worth less than $2,500.
You're talking about stuff that is not relevant.
Hello and welcome to the Court of Public Opinion. I am the Recovery Addict, and boy, do I have a case for you today.
Why is the dog chewing on this guy?
I think they have got the wrong guy there.
Got the wrong guy, and the dog was biting him.
He roughing him up quite a bit. There's a lawsuit.
As the agent for Peyton Ansley, John Milton, you are indicating to me that you're quite familiar with Peyton Ansley, John Milton, and that's basically you. Is that correct?
I am the agent authorized to represent Peyton Ansley, John Milton, as written in all capital letters.
All right, and you understand for my purposes, though that language doesn't make any sense. So
no, I do not.
I understand. Okay, well, I'm telling you that. And so I am, until you disabuse me of the motion, or the notion, I am inclined to believe that you are both the agent and the person, so. And it's in all
I'm not
caps,
a person, I am one of the people, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Not a person, I'm one of the people. I am the Recovery Addict. Welcome to the Court of Public Opinion. Good to have you here this Tuesday morning. Fantastic Tuesday morning. It's beautiful sunshine out there. The weather is cleared up. It was absolutely, yeah, we ought to do that as well. It is a fantastic day. It is just a wonderful day. I will say I ran to the post office this morning. I love my post office. But I ended up opening up two packages that were not mine. Is that a crime? Because they sent them to me, and so I believed I was suddenly the proud owner of an Android charging cable, which I don't need because I don't have any Androids, and also a mulberry silk pillowcase in gray, which I also don't need or did not order. Only after opening them did I realize that the post office box number on the address was right, but the name on the address was wrong. So, Michael, I'm sorry. We did test out the pillowcase. It's good. We've repackaged it. It's good as new. We will get it back to you shortly. It's my bad. But you need to update your Amazon mailing address because the post office box now goes to me, not to you. Wallflower, hope everyone's having a good morning. You as well.
There's a lawsuit.
We have to celebrate first of all. Paula Mac. This I can't remember the last time this happened. The last time somebody won the internet with an emoji, and not just any emoji, but a cute little puppy emoji. Paula Mac, this is next level win. We know that you're an old hand when it comes to winning the internet. You have a rap sheet about a mile long when it comes to that. So not a first-time offense, a repeat offender definitely, possibly a habitual offender. But congratulations on winning, and not just coming in first, but also coming in second. So that was just a what do they call it? It was not a photo finish. We'll put it that way. It was decisive. Your win was decisive.
When are we going to break for lunch, Judge?
All right. We have our dogs banned, says Adam. Adam has this thing going where whatever letter gets said in chat first is banned for the day. And now dogs were in chat first, so they're bad. Careful, those packages may have secret decoding device from Hunter and Shapiro. They might, but why would they send me a mulberry silk pillowcase? I bought a bookcase on Amazon and never got delivered. Coincidence? I think not. Natalie, got a funny story about that. Not last Christmas, the Christmas before. Mrs. R.A. and I decided that what would be just awesome is if our kids had an air hockey table. Now, air hockey tables are awesome. We found one that was like a 12-in-1 air hockey table, and looking back on it, it probably was very poor quality because the price was very cheap. But it was like, it could be a ping pong table and a pool table and an air hockey table and a foosball table. It was like all in one, plus a coffee table if you wanted to. You just have to keep flipping it and adding boards different ways. So we ordered this package, and this was going to be the big gift for the kids for Christmas. This air hockey table. We were going to, in our minds, we were going to play it every day, smiling and laughing together as a family, playing air hockey and pool and everything in our living room. Because that's the only place that's big enough to put that. And as Christmas got closer and closer, we're sort of watching for the package because it's going to be a good-sized package, right? These things are not small. And I was so excited because I got a notification on my phone that the package had arrived. So we rushed home to get it, and it was not there. and apparently it never was there. Somebody else got an air hockey table for Christmas, and I don't know where it went, but they got it, and it never got returned. It never got delivered to us. But somewhere there's a family out there with like a 12-in-1 air hockey table, courtesy of us. Merry Christmas. Hope you enjoy it. We've never tried to reorder another one because we had such a bad experience getting that one here. Anyway, so somebody has an air hockey table. Somebody else has your table. I have his pillowcase. I think in the end, it's a wash, right? It's just a wash. Everyone just... no, the funny thing is I opened the first package with the cable, the Android charger cable. And I'm like, who would send me an Android charger cable? And I looked at it to see if it had any notes on the inside. There wasn't. I looked on the outside, and that's when I saw the name was wrong. And I was still at the post office. So I ran back inside and said, look, I just opened this guy's mail. Sorry. It said my post office box, but it's the wrong name. And they took it back. They're like, oh, it's fine. It's fine. And then in the car on the way home, we opened his other package. So that's how it went down. Dana at me, Gallery, welcome. 3 months of support. Appreciate that, Dana. Appreciate you for supporting the channel. All right. Let's see. We are going to be returning the pillowcase. It's super soft. It's super soft. I mean, now I'm actually curious. Who orders just one pillowcase? Says Robin. Let's see. We have some things to do. Toxic Orchid daughter Riley is 6 today. John Lynch and Claudia is 70 years young today. Happiest of birthdays to everyone who has a birthday today. So we have Riley, little Riley, who's 6, John and Anne, all birthdays today. We're going to sing to them before the masses show up and also claim that it was their birthday. I mean, I'm not saying that it's not, but I'm just, let's get these 3 out of the way because we have a court case to begin. This afternoon, I have to go pick up my son from the airport. He's flying back. He's going to be joining us for Christmas, my college-age son, and we're super excited about that. But I'm going to be driving to Raleigh and picking him up. So we've got to be done by about 4-ish. 4-ish is what we're looking for, so I can get there in time and not make him wait at the baggage claim area endlessly. So everybody get ready to sing. We're going to sing to Riley, John, and Ann. I'll keep the names on the screen just like this as we prep. Warm up, everybody. Stand up, please. Big voices, deep breaths. La, 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 la. Here we go. No hiding there and back. I hear you, and I can see you. I better hear you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, Riley, John, and Ann. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, everyone. I say that in the Merry Christmas, everyone voice, right? Everyone gets a happy birthday. And Reverend Beezy, is it your birthday? Reverend Beezy, happy birthday. You, sir, deserve a special song just for yourself. Happy birthday, Reverend Beezy. Just looked up mulberry pillowcase. Man, they are expensive. Are you saying I should put it on eBay? Cece, I don't understand. Just kidding. It's Beezy's birthday today. That's awesome. Alrighty. My birthday is Christmas Day. Any chance he'll be on? I know we have at least one other addict with a birthday on Christmas Day. So you're not alone, Smolsky. I will tell you there is a very, very, very small chance I will be on. We might have to celebrate either the day before or the day after. It's probably going to be the day after, which I will be on the road for. I don't know. We'll figure it out. We might have to do like a birthday season catch-up sing-along, Smolsky. Happy birthday on Christmas. What a day to have a birthday, right? Everybody is like... I already got you a gift. Now you want another one because it's your birthday, right? It's either you get half the gifts you should, or I guess it's the time that everyone gives you gifts because they're buying for everyone else as well. The cost is why they only ordered one pillowcase. How much does a pillowcase cost, Mulberry? Now I'm curious. Let's turn this down just a little bit and do a quick Google because you guys have me curious. Do I need to invest in mulberry pillowcases? Mulberry pillowcase cost. Is mulberry silk pillowcase worth it? Yes. Where's the cost, though? I'm Googling this. I'm not going to Amazon. Let's see, Blissey sells them on Cyber Monday sales. Oh, let's go to Amazon. I just found the link. All right. Wow. People pay $20 for a pillowcase? Must be fantastic. Nobody tell him that his might be slightly used, okay? Is this the QVC channel? It might be. It might be. We're selling pillowcases today. We're going to need Vanna to demonstrate them for us. Natalie Bell, my baby girl, just turned 19 yesterday and just got a 4.0 at university and is coming home for Christmas. Natalie, that is awesome. I was talking to several people who are together, with the families for Christmas, and I'm really looking forward to this year, just having the whole family back together, because it's the first year that really my oldest has sort of left the home and has moved out, and so I didn't realize what I had until I didn't have it, and now we're having him come back. All right, they're great for preventing wrinkles. Wow. $20 pillowcase. Heck, I don't want to pay more than $15 for the whole set. Seriously, Cali Girl, I'm on the cheap end of all this. Let's see. Did you see Peter Tragos on HBO Max? Gwyneth versus Terry? I did not. We'll have to look for that. He's getting famous. It's the hair, I must admit, and he's smart. Let's see. Okay, I think we're all caught up. Let's tell you what we're doing. My son will be 30 tomorrow, says Queen Olive. My sister, who subs here, her birthday is on 21st. Grandson's the 25th. Granddaughter on the 27th. And another granddaughter on the 28th. December is a month of celebrations for you. That is awesome. I do have one other thing I have to say. There was one other package that did arrive for me, and it was addressed to me, and my daughter opened it, because they like to, my kids come with me to the post office, and one of them wants to open, carry the key. One of them wants to run and unlock the box. One wants to get the little notice that says your package didn't fit in the little tiny slot you've ordered. And then the other one wants to run and hand it over the counter. They take turns and rotate through who does what. And that is awesome. Congrats to Peter Tragos. 300K. That's huge. They take turns, and my daughter won it was her turn to open this package. This one right here. So she opens it, and inside is a whole bunch of bubble wrap, which she's so excited about. So it's wrapped around something. She unwraps it. She unwraps it and proceeds to give a yelp of surprise, because it contains a 3D printed cockroach. The lack of light does it. Here, let's see. There we go. Let's turn that light on. That'll be a little better. The lack of light is a problem, but it's the monster cockroach, 3D printed, huge, massive, and it's a gift from Craig, who found us from Rob Law and Lumber. Obviously, if you know Rob, did a little fun little bit with the little bug incident we had here. So it's amazing. I mean, it's incredibly detailed and as scary as I'll get out. And Mrs. R.A. is not a fan. Let me just say, Craig, not a fan. So it was. Oh, and I've got a. There we go. Okay, it's going to go right there for right now. So, rumor is Rob might have the companion set to this one. He might be getting the other version. If these were bookends, I would have the left and Rob would get the right. That's what the rumor is. Just picked up some fluff from my dusty cabinet here. I love that Rob uses the video of you and the cockroaches as calm down moment. Rob's awesome. I owe a lot to Rob. Rob has been incredibly generous, not just with information and advice, but support and his time. Rob's fantastic. One of the good ones. We've got some good ones out there in LawTube, and Rob is definitely up there at the top of the list. All right, Peter will get the other one. It'll be a three first set. All right, today let me tell you what we have. We have a court case. Because it's a holiday season, and the courts are sort of winding down. Not many judges are out there thinking, let's go ahead and panel a jury and make them sit in court all holiday season. This is the time really that families want to be together. A lot of people have a lot of vacation, have things planned. So court is a bit sparse. and live courts are a bit sparse. There are some things going on, but there's not a lot. And we've decided that this holiday season, as we go through this week leading up to Christmas, that we're going to do a throwback case. So we're looking at the case of Nathaniel Rowland. This is a case out of South Carolina, out of the lovely Judge Newman's court. Judge Newman, for those that are in the know, he was the judge that presided over the Alex Murdaugh trial. And also he has reached that ripe old age where, according to South Carolina law, he may no longer serve as a judge. So it's a forced retirement due to age that he is undergoing right now. So this is a way of sort of celebrating something that that he did, celebrating his time as a judge. And we're sort of burning through the case pretty quickly because so far the defense has asked very few questions, and the rumor is they have even fewer witnesses. So let's get this pulled up where we want. Let's see, where's our? I think today we get the girlfriend's testimony, and then we're gonna finish. I think it might just be day 2. I know I said day. We're also gonna do day 3, but let me just look at the times here. 2 hours, 15 minutes. Oh no! We start with 1 hour and a half, and then 2 hours. We might get a little bit of day 3. So let's see. Let's begin that way. I think we've got the girlfriend on the stand first, which would be awesome if we can get this set up right. Let's see, where are we at? I'm going to channel 3. Let's cut to that. Get me some sound. That's a little bit better. Mystic Mama, it's been a magical 10-month journey watching the channel explode. Congratulations on your success, and thanks for providing us a safe place. Thank you, Mystic Mama. 10 months. Getting so close. Rudy, we did do birthdays. Do you have one to add?
Thank you. Your next witness.
Thank you, Your Honor. State calls Carrie Sheely.
Those little black, they look like crosses on the back. Those black marks on the wall, they're actually gaff tape that is holding cables in place. That's temporary tape. Emo Zeeb's birthday today.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you brought in this case will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Yes. Please have a seat, state your full name for record.
Carrie Sheely.
Can you spell your first name, please?
C-A-R-E-Y.
And if you don't mind, could you take your mask off while you testify?
Okay.
We're gonna pause this just for a second, and I'm gonna change the speed because I think she talks too fast. We're gonna go back down to normal speed just on this one here, and hit play. Hit play. Oh, that I did it dirty there on the pause job. That's still good. There we go.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Mr. Sheely, where do you work?
Statewide Security Systems.
And what is statewide security systems?
We're a security company. We do a lot of video surveillance.
And can you explain to the jury where you do surveillance at?
It's all over the place. I mean, all over the state, actually.
And as it pertains to this particular case, what part of Columbia do you have surveillance over?
Well, it's pretty spread out. There's some areas that have more than others, but we don't have them everywhere. Obviously, there's the camera boxes that we have.
And when you say camera boxes, what do you mean?
It's a box that's mounted on a pole or a building that has cameras on it that record the video.
And what are these cameras for? What are they recording?
They're just recording anything in front of them.
And who can use or access these cameras?
Well, the majority of our clients, what they would call and request a video, and we would go and get the video and give it to them.
Now I'm going to move you to March and April of 2019. Were you working with this company at that point?
Oh, yeah.
And what is your job if you're contacted by law enforcement?
I'm respond to the request and go get the video.
And how do they request the video?
They could email, call, text, whatever is most convenient for them.
And did you receive any requests to get any video as it pertained to March 28th, 29th, and 30th?
Yes.
What did What were you asked to do?
Just go download video from a certain date and time frame.
So who provides you with the date and time frame?
The investigator typically that calls and requests it.
So would it be Columbia Police Department?
Yeah.
And in this case, is that who contacted you?
Yes.
You want to approach? I'm going to show you what's been marked as State's Exhibit number 12 and ask if you can identify that.
Yes.
What is it?
Just the videos, clips from the video that we pulled. Some of
And how do you know this is the video that you pulled?
it. We looked at it.
All right. And what is on here to let you know that?
My initial.
And is what's on here a fair and accurate depiction of what you provided to law enforcement in reference to March 29th, 30th,
Yes.
and March 28th, 29th, and 30th?
Yes.
At this time, Your Honor, I'd ask that you introduce State's Exhibit 12 into evidence.
No objection.
Say before it goes.
States 12.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Here comes an in-depth cross-examination by the defense.
Very briefly, Your Honor, please report. Mrs. Shealy, how are your video boxes labeled?
Sorry about that.
That's fine.
How are your video boxes labeled or identified?
Well, usually by just the location, like sometimes they have numbers on them.
Okay. And you said they're kind of placed around the greater Columbia area?
Yes, ma'am.
Either on poles or on buildings, just
Yes, ma'am.
depends. And there's multiple angles for each camera, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Some of them have 3, some of them have 4.
That's right.
And you said when the investigator on a case makes a request to you, you go to that box and you pull that footage.
Correct.
And the investigators in this case, they made multiple requests for multiple different
Yes, ma'am.
intersections.
Yes, ma'am.
And some of those places were in 5 Points, the 5 Points area.
Yes, ma'am.
You got a specific request for Saluda Drive, and is that Hardin Street, that corner? Do you recall?
Saluda and Hardin, yeah.
Did you get any other requests for any boxes that are located on Saluda?
Off the top of my head, I can't remember, but there's several on Hardin Street there.
Okay. Do you know how many boxes you have on Saluda Avenue?
On Saluda, there's one on one end. There's one on the side of yesterday's, on the building, and then one on the far end by a hair salon on the left.
Okay. Do you have a security box that's close to Gourmet Shop?
Where?
Gourmet Shop?
Yes.
You do?
Gourmet Shop, that's,
Do you recall?
yeah. And there's also one on Divine in Saluda.
Is this a private
Do
company?
you recall if law enforcement made a request for you to pull the footage from the box that's closest to the Gourmet Shop?
I don't remember off the top of my head, no.
Okay.
There was a lot.
Yes, sir. It was 2 years ago. Yes,
Yeah,
sir. But if they had, you would have given it to them.
absolutely.
Begging the court's indulgence. Thank you. I have no further questions.
Hey, Melanie, you shouldn't have any commercials during
Nothing
the
from
live
the
stream.
state, Your Honor.
Thank you, sir.
I think I've done everything to prevent commercials during the live streams. There might be one at the very beginning. And possibly on a rewatch. On a rewatch, I think they do add them. But when we're live, you shouldn't get any breaks, because that just ruins the whole court experience. YouTube keeps telling me I need to do it, but I keep ignoring them. Okay, so that was a quick witness, just telling us about the
Your Honor.
camera systems.
The state would now call Maria Howard.
Little response from the defendant. Seems more interested here. Is this the girlfriend? This case is flying. This case is going so fast.
Those cell phones are off.
Right hand on the Bible. Raise your left hand.
Left hand on Bible.
Is that right?
Other
You
left.
solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you about to give in this case will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God. Please have a seat. State your full name for the record.
Mary, thank you so much. Generous gift. 5 memberships this morning. Jessica, Debbie, Ashley, Tash, and Jess Dawson. Congratulations.
My name is Maria Howard.
Maria, I'm going to need you to speak real loud, okay?
Is that a balloon?
Maria, can you tell the jury how old you are?
I'm 27.
And where do you live currently? You don't have to give your address, but where do you live?
In Columbia.
And how long have you lived in Columbia?
For 10 years.
Prior to that, where did you live?
North Carolina.
So is that where you were born and raised?
Mm-hmm.
And you say
yes, ma'am.
Thank you. So what year did you move to Columbia?
2012.
And do you remember how old you were?
17.
17.
Mm-hmm.
Were you still in high school?
Mm-hmm. Yes, ma'am.
Where did you graduate?
AC Florida.
And let me ask you this. When you graduated, what did you do?
After I graduated, I went to Voorhees College.
And while you were at Voorhees, what did you do for fun?
Party.
Party. Fair to say you went out regularly?
Yes,
honest.
ma'am.
Where did you
Just
party?
telling the truth.
When I came back home, 5 points.
And when you say came back home, what do you mean?
Came back home to Columbia for the weekend.
Where's Voorhees?
It's in Denmark,
And
South Carolina.
Did you live in Denmark?
Yes, I was staying on campus.
Okay. So you would come back to Columbia and party, is that what you just said?
Yes, ma'am.
And you said in 5 points?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Did you have an occasion to meet the defendant?
Yes, ma'am.
When did you meet him? The first time?
It was on a weekend that I had came home from college.
So came home to Columbia?
Mm-hmm. Yes, ma'am.
And where did you meet him?
At a club in 5 Points.
In 5 Points?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. And at that time, what was your relationship?
We was friends.
Did you date at that time? So you were just friends?
Mm-hmm. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Did you all ever date back then?
You can say dating, but it was more so like a friendship.
Did you all stay friends from back then until now? Or until March of 2019?
We had lost contact with each other.
When did you all become associated again?
March, April, it was in 2020.
Before this incident, is that when you became acquainted?
No.
So you didn't know him prior to, not today. Okay, let me rephrase. Did you know him in March of 2019?
Yes.
And were you all, how did you become acquainted with him again in March of 2019?
He had came to my job at McDonald's on Garners Ferry.
Okay, so I'm gonna talk about McDonald's.
Yes, ma'am.
You said you worked at McDonald's in 2019?
Yes, ma'am.
Which McDonald's did you work at?
The one on Garners Ferry, across from Rosewood.
So coming into Columbia?
Yes, ma'am.
And you worked at McDonald's, how did you meet him? Did he come in the McDonald's?
He was going through the drive-thru. I was outside.
Oh, man.
What were you doing outside?
Smoking a cigarette because I had just got off.
I was gonna say, this
So-
is really romantic.
How did it happen that you talked to him?
He was like, "Hey, Maria," and I was like, "Oh, wow, I haven't seen you in forever," and we exchanged numbers.
And did you go back to work?
No.
What did you do at that point?
He offered me a ride home.
Did you have a car at that time?
No.
So did you get rides a lot?
Yes.
So he took you back to home, you said?
Yes.
Where was your home at that point?
Mountain Brook on Leesburg.
Was it, what type of house was it?
It was a condo.
Was it
a duplex?
So it was a duplex?
Mm-hmm.
Was it an apartment or was it like an apartment?
It was like an apartment.
So can you describe to the jury, was it 1 story or 2 stories?
It was 2 stories.
So he took you back to Mountain Brook, you said?
Yes, ma'am.
And what happened when you got home?
We hung out for a little while, and then he left.
And let me ask you, was that the last time you saw him?
No.
How often did you see him after that first encounter at McDonald's?
Every day.
After that?
Mm-hmm. Yes, ma'am.
All right. Did you all at that point start dating?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And what do you mean by dating?
Seeing somebody every day.
And let's just be honest, did y'all have a sexual relationship?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. And at that time, did you have a child?
Yes, ma'am.
How old was your child?
4.
Did she live with you?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you allow him to see her as well?
Not often.
Okay. So, you said that you saw him every day. What type of relationship did you mean when you said you saw him every day? Was it for long periods or short periods? Let's start there.
It was for long periods.
So, what did y'all do during those long periods?
Watch TV, hang out, eat.
Did you go to 5 Points?
No.
Did you all go to bars at all?
No.
Do you know if he liked to go to bars?
Yeah.
How do you know that?
Because he always talked about 5 Points.
And what did he tell you about 5 Points?
It was lit.
And what does, in case people don't know, what does it's lit mean?
It's so good. It's a place to have a good time.
And that's what he told you about 5 Points?
Mm-hmm. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And were you at that time going to 5 Points?
No.
Why not?
Because I was working double shifts and I didn't have time to party no more.
So, I'm going to move you to Thursday, the 28th of March, 2019. Were you two seeing each other at that time?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And you were working at McDonald's, I believe you said?
Yes, ma'am.
So, tell the jury what you all did that. Was he there when you got up that morning?
No.
Did he stay over during this time period that you knew him? Would he spend the night with you?
He was supposed to, but he never came back.
What do you mean he was supposed to?
Like, he was telling me, I'm going to stay tonight, and then he just didn't.
How do you know that?
Because if I wake up, the cover was still the way that I put it, and he wasn't there.
Would you all go to bed together?
No.
Where did you expect him to stay, if he was staying with you?
In the living room.
And while we're talking about who was staying with you, was anyone else living with you at the time?
Yes, ma'am.
Who else was living?
My daughter's cousin.
What's her name?
Naisha.
Okay. Did anything happen with Naisha during this time period?
She just didn't follow my rules, so I tried to get her evicted.
What do you mean by follow your rules?
The guidelines in my house.
Which were what?
The cleanliness.
So what was she not doing that abides by your cleanliness?
She wouldn't clean up, and her daughter had urinated on my daughter's floor, and it had my whole house smelling.
So you wanted to do what based on that?
Get her put out. I wanted her to leave.
So what did you do?
I went and typed a letter up, and I was going to get it notarized.
And where did you put that letter?
In the glove box of his car.
What kind of car did he have?
A black Impala.
Did you ever see him drive a different car?
No, ma'am.
Okay. And did you ever see him let anyone else drive that Impala?
Besides me, no, ma'am.
And when you drove it, was he with you or let you drive it alone?
He was with me.
So you said you put the letter in the glove box?
Yes, ma'am.
Why was that?
Because I was going to the bank to get it notarized.
Do you remember when you put that in there?
Thursday. It was a Thursday.
On Thursday?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So I believe I interrupted you, but you said on Thursday, what were you planning on doing on Thursday?
I was supposed to go to my mom's house and wash clothes.
And where in general did your mom live? What side of town?
Northeast.
Okay. And how were you going to get there?
He was going to take me.
And did he take you?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Were you able to wash your clothes?
No, ma'am.
And so what did you do because you couldn't wash your clothes?
I brought him back home to my house.
Was there anything significant that needed to be washed?
My work shirt.
Why did it need to be washed?
Because I needed it for work.
So since you couldn't wash it?
I couldn't wash it at my mom's house.
So what did you do based on that?
I asked him if he could wash it at his sister's house.
And did he?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you see him wash it, or did he just take it?
He took it.
And was your daughter with you at this time?
No, ma'am.
Where was your daughter?
She was with my mom.
Was that normal or out of the ordinary?
It was normal.
So Thursday afternoon into Thursday night, where are you at?
At home.
With who?
Nate.
What are y'all doing?
Watching TV.
And do you remember what you were watching?
Something on the Ayden channel.
Something on the what?
Ayden channel.
Ayden channel, okay. And at what point did you, or do you go to bed?
It was around 12:01 in the morning.
Earlier you said he didn't sleep with you. Did he sleep with you that night? And by sleeping, I mean literally going to sleep in your bed.
No.
Okay. Where were you?
In my bed.
Where was he when you went to sleep?
Downstairs.
How do you know he was downstairs?
The TV was still on, and before I went to bed, I went back downstairs to make sure.
And what was he wearing on Thursday?
A gray Nike hoodie with the drawstrings and like the windbreaker sweatpants.
What color were the sweatpants?
Like a navy blue.
And was it a hoodie or a sweatshirt?
It was a thin shirt with a hood on it.
With a hood on it, okay. So you said he's downstairs and you go to your room and go to sleep?
Yes, ma'am.
And when you go to sleep, he's downstairs?
Mm-hmm.
You positive of that?
Unless he left, because he's good about leaving.
But when you last saw him, he was downstairs, is that?
Yes,
I don't want to
ma'am.
put words in your mouth, but is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. So what time do you go to bed?
Around 1:32.
And at that point, he's downstairs at 1:30.
Yes, ma'am.
It's a very precise time, 1:32.
Where is he there when you wake up?
No.
And what time did you wake up?
I have to be to work around 7, so I wake up around 5:30, 6 o'clock.
And so around 5:30, 6 o'clock, he's not there.
No, ma'am.
Was that what you expected?
No.
What did you expect?
Him to be there.
Why?
Because he told me he was going to be there when I wake up.
And why, or had you asked him to be there when you woke up?
Yes, ma'am.
Why?
Because I don't like staying by myself.
And had he made you any promises about staying?
Mm-hmm. Yes, ma'am.
What did he tell you?
That he would be there when I wake up.
But he wasn't.
But he wasn't.
So what did you do when you woke up and he wasn't there?
I called his phone and I texted him.
Did you get a response?
No.
Okay. So you said you called and you texted his phone. Did he have more than one phone or just one phone?
More than one phone.
Do you remember how many he had?
2.
Did you try to call both or
Yes,
just
ma'am.
one? Did you get a response on either phone?
No, ma'am.
All right, so how did you feel about that?
I was upset because I knew I had to go to work and I don't like being late for work.
Okay. So what did you do?
I called my mom, and by the time I got off the phone with my mom, he was pulling in the driveway.
Do you remember what time that was?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Was it after you were supposed to have already been at work?
Yes, ma'am.
And you were supposed to be at work at 7?
Yes, ma'am.
So what did you do how did you know he'd gotten there? Start there.
I looked out the window and I seen his car out there.
So could you see your front yard from your window?
Yes, ma'am.
Which
the front window? The front window.
Okay. Like your bedroom front window, your living room?
Living room.
Okay. So what do you do when you see him?
I went outside to ask him where my shirt was.
And I'm gonna stop a little bit. When you see him pull up, what is he driving?
His black Impala.
And you go outside, you said?
Yes, ma'am.
And what do you say?
Where's my work shirt?
Because did you have your uniform?
I had my pants and my shoes on, but I didn't have my shirt because he was supposed to wash it.
And did he have it?
Yes, but it was wet.
It was wet.
Mm-hmm.
Did you tell him or say anything to him about that?
Yes, ma'am.
What'd you say?
Why is my shirt wet? When you said you was gonna dry my clothes, wash my shirt and dry it.
What'd he say?
Nothing really.
Okay. And let me ask you this, were you real nice about the way you asked or were you upset?
I was upset.
And does he give you your shirt?
Yes, ma'am.
You said that. And so what do you do at that point?
I asked him for my work hat.
And tell Jerry, what's your work hat?
It's like a sun visor with an M on it.
And I'm gonna repeat what you said because you mumbled a little bit. Did you say it was a visor?
Yes, with an M on it for McDonald's.
And where had you left that visor?
In the back window.
Of what?
His car.
Of what
Nate's
kind of car?
His Impala.
Okay. And when had you left it there?
The day before when he picked me up.
And where did you leave it?
In the back window.
So what, if anything, did you expect about that visor when he showed up? Where did you expect it to be?
In the window.
Was it?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Did you ask him about that?
Yes, ma'am.
And what did he tell you?
That it was in the country.
And what did you say to that?
Why would it be in the country?
And what did he tell you?
It had blood on it.
I'm gonna need you to repeat that.
It had blood on it.
He told you that the visor had blood on it?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you ask him, what'd you ask him?
Why would the hat have blood on it?
And what'd he tell you? You tell me.
Mind my business.
Mind your business. Did you ask him again?
Yes.
And what'd he tell you?
Mind my business.
So he had your shirt but not your hat, so what'd you do?
I called my job and told my boss that I was on the way, and she had an extra hat for me.
And so what'd you do?
I left my house to go to work.
Were you able to go straight to his car?
Yes. No.
What happened?
He left and said that he had to take his nephew to school.
So after he shows up, he leaves again?
Yes, ma'am.
And what did you do when he left?
I went out the door and I shut the door behind me, and I didn't know I had to unlock the door. So I had to go to my neighbor's house and wait for him to get back.
Where were your keys?
In his car.
And so you wait with your neighbor, I think you just said?
Yes, ma'am.
How long is he gone?
Like 10 minutes.
How long, and you said he went to go get his nephew?
To take his nephew to school.
Do you know where was his nephew in the car?
No.
Do you know where his nephew lived?
On Rosewood.
How long does it take to go from your house to the nephew's house?
Like from Leesburg to Rosewood, that's like 30 minutes.
So did he have time to go from your house to his nephew's in that 10 minutes?
No.
So he leaves and comes back?
Mm-hmm. Yes, ma'am.
Had he already given you your shirt at that point?
No.
So when does he
I put my shirt on in the car.
So when you said he gave you back your shirt wet, was that before or after the first time he shows up at your house that morning?
The second time.
Okay. So the first time, I just want to make sure we got the timeline right. You ask him where it is.
Yes, ma'am.
And then the second time is when he actually gives it to you.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. And it's wet?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. So what do you do with your wet shirt?
I had to put it on because I had to get to work.
And does he take you to work?
We went to the convenience store because he had to get gas on Leesburg.
Okay. And what, if anything, did you notice about the car at that point?
That it was like dry blood in the car.
Where in the car?
On the dashboard and beside the seats.
When you say the dashboard, what are you talking about?
Where the airbags are.
Like the console?
Yes,
the
ma'am.
Console? Okay. And where else did you see blood?
In the back seat.
In the back seat. Was anything else in the back seat?
It was a sheet over the back seat and the back of the driver's seat.
And how do you mean there was a sheet?
It was kind of like covering, but it wasn't all the way covering the seat.
Okay. Was it like draped on the seat so you could see the outline of the seat, or was it above the seat? Or describe
Just like
that.
through over the seat where you can't see.
Okay. Could you see anything in the back seat besides the sheet?
Blood.
Where did you see blood then?
On the seat.
On the seat.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Not the part that was covered, or was it under the? Could you see through the sheet?
Like the part of the seat that wasn't covered, you could see blood.
Okay. What did you do when you saw the blood?
I asked him, why is it blood in the car? Did you hit a dog?
And what did he say?
Mind my business.
Did he tell you he hadn't had his car all day?
No.
Did he tell you where he'd been other than being in the country?
No.
Okay. So what did you do based on that?
After that, I went to work.
Okay. And who was supposed to pick you up from work that day?
He was supposed to pick me up.
How did y'all decide that?
I told him what time that I got off, and he said that he would be there to pick me up.
And I'm gonna need you to say that again because you mumbled up.
I told him what time I got off, and he said that he would be there, make sure he was there to pick me up.
And was he there to pick you up?
No.
Okay. And before that, did he tell you what he was going to go do while you were at work?
Clean his car.
Did he have your keys?
Yes.
Why did he still have your keys?
Because I was worried about getting to work, and he looked like he was sleepy, so I let him get the key to go in the house to go to sleep.
Did you all talk about him being tired or sleepy?
No.
Okay. You just thought he was?
The way he looked.
And so you go to work. How did you get home if he didn't?
A coworker brought me home.
Coworker brought you home. Is that out of the ordinary for a coworker to take you home?
No.
But this day, that wasn't supposed to
That
happen.
wasn't supposed to happen.
So what did you do when you got home?
I bammed on the door
Why?
because I didn't have my key, and he didn't pick me up from work, and I was mad.
All right. And I just realized I didn't ask you something. When he picked you up, what was he wearing? When he picked you up to take you to work, what was he wearing?
The same clothes.
The same clothes from when?
Thursday.
When you got home and banged on the door, did he answer?
Yes.
And what happened when he came to the door?
He looked shook.
And what do you mean by look shook?
Like he seen a ghost.
And how did you bang on that door?
Hard, like the police.
Banged on it like the police.
Mm-hmm.
And when he looked shook?
Mm-hmm.
He showed up?
Yes,
All
ma'am.
right. What did he have on when he came to the door looking shook?
The same clothes.
And what did you do once you got in the house?
I went and took my shower and everything from work.
Did he take a shower?
No.
Did you say anything about that?
Yes, ma'am.
What'd you say?
Why you still have the same clothes on? Why you haven't washed your ass?
Say it again.
Why he haven't washed his ass?
You asked him why he hadn't washed his
ass. Yes, ma'am.
Did he respond?
No.
So what did you do after you got out of the shower?
I put my clothes on and I went outside.
And what was he doing?
Cleaning the car.
Did you all cleaning the car how?
Like scrubbing it with something.
Could you tell what he was cleaning it with?
It smelled like, the car smelled like chlorine.
And I'm gonna break that down. You say it smelled like chlorine. When did you first notice it smelled like chlorine? When you were going to work or after you?
After I got off work.
You said you went outside. Were you standing by the car? Like how?
Yes, ma'am.
So what were y'all's plans that day?
To go to my mom's house.
You said, and I interrupted you, you said he was cleaning and you could smell chlorine?
It was bleach, but it was so strong it smelled like chlorine.
Did you see him in the car cleaning or what did you see?
The bleach bottles on the seat and the doors open.
All right. Did you help him clean?
No.
Why not?
It's not my car.
Because I was minding my business.
So, did you see him taking any items out of the car?
No.
Do y'all get back in the car?
Yes, ma'am.
And at that point, who's driving when you get back in?
I was.
Why?
I needed to go to my mom's house and get my rent money.
All right. And when you get in the car, did you have to do anything with the seat?
I had to adjust the seat.
Why?
To my height.
Does his seat, is it upright or laid back?
When he's driving, it's laid back, but when I drive, it's up.
And so where do you go?
To my mom's house.
And you're driving?
Yes.
Do you stop anywhere?
I had to go to the ATM.
Okay. And while you're driving, what is he doing?
Cleaning the car, still.
Still clean. With what?
Like some type of wipes.
Did you ask him about that?
Yeah.
What'd you ask him?
Where did you get them from? Why are you cleaning the car with wipes?
What'd he say?
Mind my business.
And what, if anything, does he have on his hands when he's doing this?
He had like the surgical gloves.
What do you mean by surgical?
The blue surgical gloves.
And did you see him clean anything besides the interior of the car?
This little hunter's knife-like thing.
I'm going to show you what's been marked. It states it. Let me show. I'm going to show you what's been marked. It states exhibit number 13, and ask if you recognize that.
Yes, ma'am.
What is that?
The thing that he was cleaning.
And does that fairly and accurately depict the way it looked when you saw it?
Yes, ma'am.
This time I'd ask to introduce state's exhibit number 13 into evidence. There you are.
That's it.
So this is what you saw him cleaning?
Yes, ma'am.
And when was he doing this?
While I was driving down the road.
Had you ever seen him pull that tool out and clean it before that night?
No, ma'am.
So, had you seen him with that previously?
He showed it to me, but it wasn't open.
Okay, so this wasn't the first time you'd seen it, it was the first time you'd seen it open.
Open, yes, ma'am.
So you're driving around and he's cleaning the tool in the car.
Yes, ma'am.
Looks like a little Leatherman type
Did
tool.
you go to your mom's?
Yes, ma'am.
And were you able to get the money?
Yes, ma'am.
Right. What do you do after that?
I went back home to Mountain Brook and to wait on my landlord to pay my rent.
All right. At any point, do you leave again?
No.
Where's your daughter?
She was at daycare.
Do you ever have to go get her that day?
Yes, because I forgot she was at daycare. I was so tired.
Okay. So who was supposed to pick her up?
My mom was supposed to pick her up.
Did she?
But she didn't.
So what did you have to do because of that?
I had to drive his car to go get her.
Did he go with you?
Yes.
And so you go to, what side of town was she located?
Killian.
Killian? Okay, so you go there and pick her up?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, where does she sit?
In the back, on the passenger side, in her seat.
In her seat?
Her car seat. It's a bucket seat.
So when you say a bucket seat, is it like a booster seat? Or?
A booster seat, not the infant seat.
All right. So was it behind the driver or behind the passenger?
The passenger.
All right. Did you put her in the car?
Yes, ma'am.
Was there any conversation between you and Mr. Rowland about her getting in the car?
He told me he don't want her in the car, but I had no choice but to go get her.
Did he tell you why?
Because there was blood in the car.
So, but you have to go get her, you said?
Mm-hmm.
So what did you do?
I went and got my baby.
Okay. And does she get in the car?
Yes, ma'am.
Where do y'all go after you pick her up?
We went back home.
So does she stay with you the rest of the night?
Yes, ma'am.
Does Mr. Rowland?
No.
Does anyone else come to your house that night or into the morning?
His friends.
Okay. Do you remember who came over?
I don't remember one of them name, but one of them name was.
Yeah, speak up.
I don't remember their names, but two people had came to the house.
Were they there to see you or Mr. Rowland?
They was there to see him.
Okay. Did they speak and talk?
Yeah, we conversated.
All right. And did they stay or leave?
They left because they was going out.
Who was going out?
All the three of them.
All, including Mr. Rowland?
Yes.
Were you planning on going out?
No.
Did they say where they were going?
5 Points.
Was that unusual for him to go to 5 Points?
No.
When he left, what car did he leave in?
His car, the Impala.
What, if anything, did you say to him?
Why would you drive that car with blood in it?
Any response?
No.
Do you remember what time they left?
It was early morning.
What do you mean by early morning?
It was after 12 o'clock, so it was another day.
Okay. Do you know exactly what time?
No.
Okay. And let me ask you this. What, if anything, was he wearing when he left to go out with his friends?
He had changed clothes and put on a gray Puma sweatsuit.
Did you see him change clothes?
No.
And I want to ask you, what, if anything, did he have in terms of a phone when you saw him on Friday?
It was a phone in his car, and I asked him where did he get it from because it looked like a female phone.
And why do you say it looked like a female
It
phone?
was a rose gold iPhone, and it was in perfect condition.
All right. And where was it located?
It's a button that you mash and the radio thing go up. It was in there.
So is there like a holder or something beside?
Mm-hmm. Yes, ma'am.
All right. And so that's where it was?
Mm-hmm. Yes, ma'am.
Did you ask him where that phone was from?
I asked him where did he get it from.
What did he tell you?
He found it.
And you state again, what kind of condition was it in?
It was in perfect condition.
Did it look like it'd been dropped?
No.
Did it look like it had been in the dirt?
No.
Did he ask you, or did he tell you anything about what he planned to do with that phone?
He said he was trying to get it flashed over for me, but I don't do iPhones.
What do you like?
I like Androids.
All right. So you didn't need that phone?
No.
And did you have a phone?
Yes, ma'am.
So he leaves.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Does he come back to your house after he leaves with his friends?
No.
When is the next time you know anything about this case? What do you see?
When it was on the news, I seen that she was missing, and then they showed the clip of his car.
And what did you think when you saw the car?
It all makes sense to me now.
What do you mean by that?
The blood, she's missing, that's his car.
How'd you know it was his car?
Because it had mud on the back by the fender.
And why didn't you call the police at that moment?
I was scared.
So what did you do? Did you go to work?
No.
Why not?
Because I had to get myself together, so I faked my baby being sick to take her to doctor's care so I could get myself together.
Who took you?
His brother.
And what, if anything, did you say to him about the car? Or there being blood in it?
That looks like Nate's car.
All right. And did police ever come speak with you?
Yes, ma'am.
And when was that?
The first time they came, I forgot what day it was, but I had did a double shift, and they came and woke me up out my sleep. And then they came back 2 to 3 days later, but I was off, so I was recuperated.
So I'm going to start with the first time you speak with them. I think you just told the jury you had a double shift. What was a double shift?
I worked over 12 hours that day.
Over 12 hours?
Yes, ma'am.
And you went home and went to sleep?
Yes, ma'am.
And they woke you up?
Yes, ma'am.
So were you tired or well rested when you talked?
I was tired, exhausted.
You guys, let's be respectful for the witness.
And were you trying to be helpful when you talked to them?
I was.
Were you able to tell them everything at that point?
I thought I told them what I could at the time.
Did they do a question like I'm doing with you, or was it just talk to them?
It was just talking.
Did you leave out some things?
Yeah.
Did you do it on purpose?
No.
And you said they talked to you another time, and at that point you'd had some sleep.
Yes, ma'am.
And did you talk to them?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you try to tell them everything you could?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. And they asked to look at your phone. Did you let them?
Yes, ma'am.
And do you remember what they did with your phone?
And I just know they had it for a long time.
They took it from you?
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, they took it from you?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Did they give it back to you?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you have any problems with that?
No.
What, if anything, did they do at your house?
They searched my house.
Did you have any problems with that?
No.
Do you remember if his phone was working on the 28th and the 29th? Could you call it?
No.
Why not?
The bill was supposed to be paid, and he didn't pay the bill, so he was using my Wi-Fi.
What do you mean by using your Wi-Fi?
To use the internet.
So
he would connect the phone to the Wi-Fi for the internet.
So the phones worked?
Yeah, they worked, but you just had to be connected to the Wi-Fi.
And I'm going to ask you, I'm skipping around a little bit, make sure I covered everything. When you came home from being at McDonald's and he didn't pick you up, so this would be the 28th, and you said you knocked on the door, he looked shook. Could you tell if he'd been asleep?
Yes, ma'am.
How did you know?
I could tell when he'd been asleep. Like, he got this look where you can tell a person been asleep.
And where had he been sleeping? Could you tell that?
He was in my room, but he wasn't on my bed.
How could you tell that?
Because the cover and stuff was on the floor.
And on the floor?
Yes, ma'am.
And were his clothes clean or dirty?
Dirty.
Could you tell what was on them?
Blood.
You could see it?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you ever notice anything about, what if anything did you notice about Chloe's shoes after she got out of his car?
When I took her to doctor's care and she was sitting on the table, she had blood on the bottom of her shoes.
And so what did you do?
I took them off from her and threw them in the closet.
In your house, when they searched it, did they find any marijuana or any edibles?
Mm-hmm. Yes, ma'am.
So did you smoke marijuana back then?
Back then I did.
Did Mr. Rowland?
Yes.
Beg the court's indulgence.
Okay, so this has been a pretty damaging testimony. This is the girlfriend of the defendant, and she's doing a tell-all. There's nothing about what she said that has given me any indication that she's not being truthful. She's been open and honest, even things that are, don't make her look good. Very, very difficult for the defense to overcome. I wonder if they're going to do any questions.
I think I misstated. When he was sleeping and looking shook, I think I said the wrong date. It was the 29th, correct? The 28th was Thursday.
Yeah, this was Friday.
Okay, that's my bad. I said that. I'm sorry. So on the 29th is when you knocked on the door and he looked shook. And
Yes,
he was
ma'am.
sleeping on the floor.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. And to clarify, you said his brother, was it his blood brother or someone he called brother that took you to doctor's care?
I don't know if it's his blood brother or not, but he called him his brother.
Okay, he called him his brother.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. And then you stated he was cleaning the car. Can you tell the jury, where is your trash can outside dumpsters in relation to your house? Are they in the front yard, the backyard?
The backyard.
In the backyard?
Yes, ma'am.
And can you get to those dumpsters do you have to go through your house?
You don't have to. You can go around the fence.
Is there anything that could keep you from being able to go in the dumpster?
No.
So if someone's out front, they can go to the back
Yes, ma'am.
and they can put stuff in the dumpster?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you put anything in the dumpster between Friday and Saturday?
No, ma'am.
Take the court to wait.
Let's see what the defense does here with this witness. The attorneys are consulting with each other to see if they want to ask any more questions.
All right. Did you ever see him wear head coverings? Like a do-rag or a bandana?
Yes, ma'am.
What did he wear?
He would wear like a toboggan, a scully, a black one, and a do-rag.
Showing you what's already been marked as State's Exhibit number 11.
Yes, ma'am.
Does this look familiar?
Yes, ma'am.
What is this?
A do-rag.
And is this what he was wearing?
Yes, ma'am.
What about State's Exhibit?
I've never seen that.
Never seen that one. But you've seen this one.
Yes, ma'am.
And did he always wear bandanas on his head?
The black one, yes.
Okay. And what about pullover hoodies?
Hoodies, yes.
And you said when he was cleaning, did you ever see him throw away or put items in a bag?
No.
In the car? When he was cleaning the car?
Oh, yeah. Yes, ma'am.
What was he doing with them?
He was putting them, like, the wipes that he done use in a trash bag, like a grocery store bag.
Like, what do you mean by grocery store bag?
Like the plastic bags that you get from the grocery store.
He was putting them in that?
Yes, ma'am.
Sorry. I'm going to show you what's been marked as State's Exhibit 14. and ask if you recognize that.
Yes, this is the letter that I had typed.
Can you just speak in the microphone?
This is the letter that I had typed to my daughter's cousin.
And is that the eviction letter?
Yes, ma'am.
And where did you leave that letter?
In the glove box.
And is that a fair and accurate depiction of what you left in the glove box?
Yes, ma'am.
I'd ask to introduce State's Exhibit 14 into evidence.
Any objection?
No objection.
Let's admit it.
So this is the letter that you left in his vehicle?
Yes, ma'am.
And where did you leave it?
In the glove box.
And what was it in?
An envelope.
And it was in an envelope.
Yes, ma'am.
And do you remember what kind of shoes, I asked you about clothing, what kind of shoes he was wearing?
Nike slides.
What do you mean by slides? Just, some people call them flip-flops?
Yes.
So what are slides?
Nike slides that you just slide your feet in.
Do you remember what color?
Red and black.
Red and black.
The squeak abacus is a counter. This trial, there have been some balloon noises in court. I don't know what they're coming from, but that's we're describing as balloon noises. So we're counting those instead of objections. Imagine like forcibly rubbing two balloons against each other. The sound that generates, that's what we're hearing. So when you hear that, just make sure you say squeak, and we'll add one to the counter. The chairs are leather, so it could be someone sliding around on a leather chair. It could be something more childish. I'm just saying.
So the night, I guess it's the morning of the 29th. The morning, so y'all have gone to bed, it's 1:30 in the morning. What does he have on?
The grayish hoodie, Nike hoodie, and the windbreaker pants.
And you say, did he get in the bed with you with all that on?
No.
How did he get in the bed, or did he?
He would take the pants off.
And did he get in the bed with you that night?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And earlier you said at some point he was downstairs. Did he get out of the bed and go downstairs?
Yeah.
Where did the pants go?
They was like, when he take his pants off, they would be beside the bed.
When you got up
When he got up, he put them back on.
And when he got up to go downstairs, he put them back on?
Yes, ma'am.
No further questions at this time.
Cross-examination.
Thank you, Your Honor. Please the court.
We might have some crazy stuff coming out here, so just heads up. Adult content warning. Not sure where these questions are going to go, but they could go anywhere.
All right, Ms. Howard, how are you?
I'm good.
Good. You moved into that Mountain Brook apartment, would that have been beginning of March?
Yes, ma'am.
Around maybe March 9th?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that right? And the time frame that we're talking about here today is about 3 weeks later, is that right?
That sounds right.
Okay. And at this point, at some point between the time you move into the Mountain Brook apartment on March 9th and March 28th is when you say that Nate comes through the drive-thru when you're at work.
Yes, ma'am.
You don't know the exact day that is?
No.
So, but within that 3-week period.
Yes, ma'am.
And that night that is it nighttime when he drives through? And that night he comes over, brings you home.
Yes, ma'am.
And ends up leaving.
Mm-hmm. Yes, ma'am.
But he comes back that night?
That morning.
The next
take me
morning.
to work.
So he didn't stay with you that night?
No.
So he came back the next morning and took you to work?
Yes, ma'am.
And you don't know what day that is?
Not off the top of my head, no.
Okay. And did that same day that, I guess the first morning that would have been that he took you to work, did he pick you up from work that day?
Yes.
He did, okay. Now, we've talked a lot about Nate's car and what you are saying you saw in that car.
Yes, ma'am.
And you told the jury that you drove that car, right?
I drove it to my mom's house.
And that was the day that he was late picking you up for work?
Yes, ma'am.
And when he did pick you up for work that morning, when he was late picking you up, you're telling us that you saw blood in the car that morning?
Yes, ma'am.
And you're saying it was dry blood?
Yes, ma'am.
And you got in the car, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And he drove you to work?
Yes, ma'am.
You made a stop along the way?
We went to the store to get gas.
You got gas. And then he drops you off at work?
Yes, ma'am.
And you say your shirt is wet, so you put on a wet shirt to go to work?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Later that same day, you get back in the car?
Yes, ma'am.
You're driving this time?
To go to Northeast.
With blood in the car?
Yes, ma'am.
At some point, you put your child in that car?
Yes.
Put her in the back seat, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Her car seat's back there?
Yes, ma'am.
Her booster seat?
Yes.
Had that booster seat, was that in there it was in the car the morning when he picked you up for work, right?
Yes.
And on the driver's side?
The passenger side.
It's on the passenger side. So it was behind the passenger seat in the back seat?
Yes, ma'am.
And you could see that?
Yes, ma'am.
And so later that day, you put your daughter, Chloe, you put her in the car.
That was that night that I went and picked her up from daycare.
In that seat.
Yes, ma'am.
And you say she gets blood on her shoe.
Yes, ma'am.
From the back seat.
From stepping on the floorboard.
Okay. And in this, I'm saying 3 weeks because we're using the time frame of you moving into the Mountain Brook apartment and then March 29th. So about 20 days, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Majority of the time when you two are hanging out, you're at your apartment.
Yes, ma'am.
You don't go anywhere else.
We would stop by his sister's house.
Stop by his sister's house.
Yes, ma'am.
But as far as going out anywhere,
we didn't.
No friends of his would come over to your house.
Yes.
Just
they only came over that one time.
That one time. So for that short period of time that you guys are romantically involved, you would be in the car but then drive to your house and stay.
Yes.
And you testified that he would come to your house and stay but not stay the night?
Most of the time, yes, ma'am.
Okay. So, but he would be there when you would wake up in the morning?
He would yes.
Okay. And on how many occasions would you say that was what happened, that he didn't stay the night with you?
When I go to sleep, that's when he would leave.
And you're a hard sleeper?
Yes, ma'am.
And you're sure that he would leave?
Yes, ma'am. Because when I wake up to go to the bathroom, he wouldn't be there.
He wouldn't be in
the house.
In the house. And you have a bathroom upstairs?
Yes, ma'am.
And your bedroom is upstairs?
Yes, ma'am.
And that would be the bathroom that you would go to?
Yes, ma'am.
You remember telling this jury
that he was downstairs
on direct that he would be sleeping downstairs?
Yes, ma'am.
And that would always be the setup if he would stay?
Until a couple of weeks after. When we first started talking, a couple of weeks after I started letting him sleep upstairs.
Okay. So he had slept upstairs with you?
Yes, ma'am.
In your bed? But you told the jury on the night of the 28th, that Thursday leading into the 29th, which is that Friday morning. Remember you told us on direct that he went downstairs to sleep on the couch?
Yes, ma'am.
So he didn't stay with you in your bed that night?
No.
And you go to bed that night between 12 and 1 a.m.
Yes, ma'am.
And this is, again, Thursday night, but going into Friday morning hours,
Yes, ma'am.
early morning. You remember speaking with Investigator Blackman.
Yes.
You actually spoke to him at least once, and then you spoke to another investigator with fled.
Yes, ma'am.
And you remember telling them that you fell asleep in your bed,
Yes, ma'am.
and that was around 1:30, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And at that time, you both are in bed watching TV together.
Yes, ma'am.
You're watching it on, I think it's Chloe's maybe
Our
tablet,
tablet. Yes, ma'am.
and had been watching something maybe on Disney Channel,
Yes, ma'am.
and you fell asleep about 1:30.
Yes, ma'am.
Had even posted something on Snapchat.
Yes,
right?
ma'am.
Okay. And you told us today he's wearing a gray Nike hoodie
Yes, ma'am.
and windbreaker type pants,
Yes, ma'am.
blue,
Yes, ma'am.
and he had been wearing some slides
Yes, ma'am.
and some socks.
Yes, ma'am.
And that he is downstairs in your apartment at 1:30.
No, he was in the bed with me.
So now you're saying he was in the bed with you?
Yes.
Okay. A little confusing. I think on direct you told us he was downstairs at 1:30.
He was with me in the bed.
He was with you in bed. Okay. And you told us that when you wake up the next morning, he's not there.
He's not.
And you told us previously that was something, I mean, you didn't have to be to work until 7, right?
Yes,
And this
ma'am.
was, you woke up between 5:30 and 6 a.m.?
Yes, ma'am.
And the plan was that he would come back to take you to work.
He was supposed to stay.
He was supposed to stay that night.
Yes. That night, he was supposed to stay. He told me he was going to stay the night with me.
Okay.
He wasn't leaving.
Okay. And previously, he had not stayed the night with you.
No, he always end up leaving early morning when I go to sleep.
When you would go to sleep. But this particular night, he told you he was going to stay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And you told us on direct that he told you he would be there when you woke up. That's what you're
Yes.
saying. Okay.
That means he was going to be in the house with me when I wake up.
Gotcha. That's how you took it.
Yes.
Okay. And whenever you woke up and he wasn't there, that's when you start calling him.
Yes, ma'am.
And no response.
No.
No text. The text didn't
go through.
Didn't go through. And that's because
his phones was off.
His phones were off. No service.
No service.
He had to connect to your Wi-Fi.
Or Wi-Fi anywhere else.
If you went out to eat, use the Wi-Fi at the restaurant. Or if he's at someone's house, connected their Wi-Fi.
Yes.
And that was the same situation for your house.
Yes.
You had
Wi-Fi.
wireless internet at your house.
Yes, ma'am.
And he would connect to that wireless internet. And you're upset with him because he's not there.
Right.
And you have to go to work. Right? You're going to be late.
And I don't like being late for work.
And that's understandable. And he, at this point, he's got the key to your apartment.
Yes. When I went to my mom's house, I left the key in his car.
You left the key in his car?
Yes.
Was it it's on a key ring?
Yes.
Along with other keys?
Yes.
Including your mom's keys?
Those are my mom's keys.
To her house?
Yes.
And that was what was left in his car?
Yes.
Okay. And you're telling us today that he had your shirt for work?
Yes.
And he had taken it to
His
get washed?
sisters to wash it.
And that was the plan the night before?
Yes.
He had told you he was going to do that?
Yes.
And when he brought it back?
It wasn't dry.
It wasn't dry. It was wet?
Yes.
And you had gone the day before, though, to your mom's house?
Right. But I was
the purpose
supposed to
of
wash
doing laundry?
clothes, but it didn't go as planned.
It didn't go as planned. Okay. One second. when he comes to get you, what time exactly is he back at your house?
I don't know the exact time.
But it was after 7 o'clock?
Yes.
Because you had to be at
Because
work
I had to
at
be
7.
to work at 7.
And do you know what time you actually got to work that day?
Like 7:45.
7:45. And so it was sometime between, we know, 7 and 7:45.
Yes, ma'am.
He's at your house. And that's the first time.
Yes.
And he leaves.
He left.
He's gone for, you
Like
say, about 10
10
minutes. And that's when he comes back with the shirt.
Yes.
Okay. Had you asked him about the shirt before he left?
Yes, and he said, I got your shirt. I got to take my nephew to school. I'll be right back.
Be right back. And he came right back 10 minutes later?
10 minutes later.
Okay. And at this point, is the sun up?
Yes.
It's come up.
Mm-hmm.
And you get in his car, right?
Yes.
And immediately, you're telling us you noticed the blood?
No.
Not immediately?
No. I didn't notice it until we got to the store to get gas.
Okay. And is that when you asked him about
Yes.
that? Okay. And at what point do you notice this sheet over the back seat?
When we was at the store.
At the store?
Yes.
Are you in the back seat looking around?
No.
You're not in the back seat?
I was in the front seat, in the passenger seat, and I turned around.
Okay. And Chloe's seat's back there?
Yes.
In the passenger seat?
Behind the passenger seat.
Behind the passenger seat. And you can see that?
Yes.
It's not covered up by the sheet?
No.
And the sheet, you say it's draped over the back seat?
Yes.
Like hanging over kind of the driver side and then
over the back.
Over the back, but not over Chloe's seat?
No, her seat was on top of the sheet.
Her sheet's on top of the sheet. And he doesn't tell you anything about what happened? And you just go to work?
Yeah.
Expecting him to come pick you back up?
Yes.
He's got the key to your house still?
Yep.
So when you get home, you testified the door's locked?
Yes.
You can't get inside?
No.
You still can't get him to answer the phone?
No.
Phone's
So
still
I
not
just-
working?
The car's in the driveway, so I knew he was in the house.
A lady's voice?
Yes.
And it would tell you this number's not in service?
Yes.
Okay. And you told the jury on direct that when you got home, you took a shower
Mm-hmm. Yes.
right after work. Is that right?
Yes.
And that Mr. Rowland, that Nate is outside cleaning his car.
When I went in the house, he came out the door.
And what time of day is this?
I got off at like 2:30 that day.
Okay.
And it takes at least 30 minutes to get from the McDonald's to my house.
About 30-minute drive?
Yes.
Okay. And he's outside at this point?
Yes.
And you know that? You see that?
Yes.
Okay. And you don't go out there to help him?
I went outside to talk to him. And that's when I smelled the bleach.
You smelled
and
the bleach.
seen the bottles in the backseat.
And again, you ask him, what are you doing?
Yes.
What's going on?
And he wouldn't tell me.
He doesn't tell you. And you don't call the police?
No.
You, at that point, make a plan to go to your mom's house.
Yes.
You need to get rent money.
Yes.
And she lives out in Sand Hills.
Yes.
And that's another maybe 30-minute drive or so?
Yes.
And you get back in the car, right?
Yeah.
This time you're driving.
Yes.
You'll make a stop at the ATM,
Mm-hmm.
get your rent money, right?
Yeah.
And you do go to your mom's house.
Yes.
Again, you've got the key to your mom's house.
Yes.
It's on the key ring that he's got. And that's the 29th, that Friday, right?
Mhm,
Get
yeah.
back, the landlady's at your house, you need to pay.
And I paid my rent.
Okay. And this is when you say, you told us on direct that's when you see Nate put gloves on, right?
When we left my house the first time to go to my mom's house, we was going down Beltline and he put the gloves on because he was cleaning with wipes
In the car.
in the car.
And You don't drive to the police station.
No.
You don't call the police.
No.
He's in there cleaning a car, right?
Right.
He's got wipes, or he's got gloves on, right?
Right.
And wipes, right?
Right.
And he is wiping down his car.
Yes.
And at some point, he pulls out this hunting knife.
Right.
The picture we saw here, this multi-tool, right?
Right.
And you say he begins cleaning that.
Right.
Where does he pull it out from?
The pocket in the side of the door.
On the passenger side.
On the passenger side.
Passenger side. And you said you've seen it before.
Right.
He had it, and pulled it out and showed it to you for whatever reason.
But it wasn't open.
Wasn't open. And you told us that you forgot that Chloe was at daycare?
Yes, because I was so tired. I went home.
Yep. And this was, at this point, this would be closer to 8 o'clock at night?
Yes.
So it's dark.
It's dark.
It's getting late.
Mm-hmm.
Like you said, you're tired.
Yes.
And again, you drive
I had
the car.
no choice but to drive that car to go get my daughter.
Your mom didn't go get her?
No.
So you get, again, back in his car.
And go get my child.
Drive his car, right?
Yes.
To go get your daughter.
Yes.
And he allows you to drive it.
Yes, because he was with me.
And again, her seat is still in the car.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
In the back passenger seat.
Yes.
Behind
the passenger seat.
Now Nate is sitting in the passenger seat.
Yes.
That's right. Y'all end up back at your house.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Chloe stays the night. Nate ends up leaving. Is that right? His friends come over though before he heads out.
Yeah.
And y'all have a cookout at your house?
It wasn't a cookout.
Wasn't a cookout?
No.
So y'all just hanging out at your house?
Yes, they was just in the yard. Like, it's concrete slabs where the cars parked at, and then everybody was just outside.
Drinking?
No.
Nobody's drinking?
No.
You didn't tell either Investigator Blackman or Investigator Grant that he came back with some Hennessy?
No.
You don't remember saying that?
No, I don't.
Okay. And you said to the jury on direct that whenever the plan for Nate and his two friends to go to 5 Points, that you asked him, why would you drive that car with blood in it?
Right.
You asked him that.
Yes, I did.
Because why would somebody drive a car with blood in it? Right. And he leaves sometime after midnight. Right?
Yes.
You tell us that he had changed clothes at some point.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
You didn't see when and where he changed clothes.
No.
Had he left? Had he left at some point?
Yes.
So he left your house, your apartment,
Yes.
and came back in different clothes.
Yes.
No idea. You don't know where he went.
No.
Okay. I do want to ask you this. So you told the jury, you're telling us that you did not help do any sort of cleanup of that car.
No.
So it would surprise you if your DNA is found anywhere on any of the items used to clean up.
He got them out of my house. So, of course, my DNA gonna be on it. That's my cleaning stuff. It was in my house.
Would we expect it anywhere else?
No.
Beg the court's indulgence.
See if they have any more questions here. I was expecting a little spicier than that. It didn't end up that way.
Just a few more questions, I think. So you met with Investigator Blackman, sitting right here. Is that right? And you met with him, I believe the date was April 3rd. And you may not remember the exact date, but we'll say April 3rd, okay? And you met with him for quite some time.
Yes.
And I believe there was another investigator in the room as well.
A lady.
A lady investigator. And they asked you all kinds of questions.
Yes.
They asked you about your daughter being in the car.
Yes.
Your daughter sitting in the car seat, in her booster seat. In the back seat that has the blood in it, right?
Right. Where else was she gonna sit? She can't sit in the front seat.
Right. And you told the investigator at that point that you didn't know that there was blood in the back seat.
And that probably was the day that I was tired and wore out. But when I talked to them again, I cleared it up.
Okay. And you told him if you had known there was blood in the car, you never would have put her in there. Is that right?
Right.
And you told him that on April 3rd. Is that right?
I don't recall the exact date.
But the first time you met with him.
Yeah.
And I believe he asks you, or basically confronts you on that and says you already knew when you put your daughter in the car that there was blood in there, right? That you were putting your daughter in the back seat and there was blood in there.
Yeah.
And you tell him, I wanted to see if Nate was going to tell me the truth about it with her being in the car. Is that right?
Yes.
And you put your daughter in this car, right?
Yes.
Did you know about any other females that Nate was seeing?
No.
So you believe that you were the only female. And you eventually find out that he had been talking to other females.
No.
You didn't figure that out?
No.
You didn't find that out. And you met with the investigators April 3rd, and then met with them again a few days later. After you say you had slept and rested.
Yeah.
And I kind of want to go through a little timeline here. So they show up at your house.
Right.
The first time that you talk to them.
Right.
They bring you down to the police station.
Yes.
And question you for quite some time.
Right.
They get a buccal swab of your DNA,
Yes.
swab your mouth, and they take your phone.
Yep.
They want to search your phone.
Plus she's words.
Oh, yes.
While you're there, Investigator Blackman tells
Must
you they got a
use
search
words.
warrant for your house.
Right.
And that you're going to go with them to the house
Yes.
while this search warrant is happening.
Right.
And prior to that, before you go to the house when the search warrant is happening, is when you tell investigators you didn't see the blood, you didn't know about the blood until later that day, right?
Right.
After they do the search warrant at your house, then on April 6th, 3 days later, they bring you back in.
Right.
They start asking you questions again.
Right.
And that's when you give them a little more information.
Right.
And you're saying now because you were
I was tired.
better rested.
And I was better rested a couple of days after because I had days off.
Beg the court's law.
See if they're done here. They're not getting anything from this witness. Even if they can trip her up a little bit on which order she said when she saw the blood, she didn't cause the blood. She's not the one who's being accused. She's cooperating 100%. She's working double shifts at McDonald's, taking care of her kid, trying to pay rent, keep a house over the family. And I would say she's come across as very truthful throughout this testimony. Very open, very truthful, even about things that are maybe don't paint her in the best light. And she's still been very open about this. So I have no reason not to believe anything she said. Even if she did trip up a little bit and told the defense, didn't tell the detectives everything the first time, she's lost zero credibility in my mind. Get the rare beard reveal. She's a good witness. I think a very, very good witness for the prosecution. And I don't think the defense got anything. Basically, they're trying to rehash things and try to dig at details, but there's nothing she's giving up. The dirt on her, she's willing to admit to immediately and did openly. It's like, yeah, I used to smoke weed. Great. I believe it's not legal there. That's my understanding. In South Carolina, correct me if I'm wrong. If it is legal, then that's even less indication for her to have a problem with telling that. But hey, Mom's on the phone. Got to hold.
I apologize, Your Honor. There's a few more questions. I'll be done. Nate didn't keep things at your house.
No.
Right? Didn't keep clothing items at your house.
No.
Shoes.
No.
Any personal items.
No.
Those were mainly in his car.
No, I didn't never see clothes in his car. They was
Never
his
saw
sister's
clothes in his
house.
car. And he told you that night that he was going to stay.
Yes.
And this, previously though, he didn't stay.
What night are you talking about?
I'm talking about the night of the 28th into the 29th.
So that's Thursday into
Thursday to
Friday.
Friday.
Yes.
That was the first night he was going to stay the whole night with you.
Right.
Previously, he had not done that.
Right.
Just this one night
Right.
was the exception. Thank you. I'm going to press release. Yes, sir.
So, Ms. Howard, let's clarify some things. That one night that you asked him, why did you ask him to stay that night?
Because I don't like staying by myself, and I was so far in the country on Leesburg. My family is on the other side of town.
Who was normally with you at night?
Chloe.
And did you have a roommate?
Yes.
So this night you asked him to stay, why?
Because nobody was home with me.
Okay. Now that we cleared that up, what about, she asked you, I'm sorry.
Regarding the testimony, just ask questions.
Yes, sir. Ms. Good asked you about the search of your house.
Right.
Did they ever give you the search return from what they took to your house?
No.
Why not? Did you ask them for it?
No.
Did you want it?
No.
Did you know what they took from your house?
No.
Did you know they found that tool at your house in the trash?
No.
Did you know they found bloody clothes in your house, in your trash?
No.
Bleeding.
Objection sustained.
She answered it anyway.
What, if anything, did you know about the bloody clothes they found at your house?
I knew about it when they pulled it out of the trash can, and they asked me about it.
When they asked you about it?
Yes.
Did you know prior to that?
No.
That she asked you about a conversation you had with Mr. Blackman about Nate and your child being in the car. She asked you about wanting to see if he would tell you the truth. Did that happen?
No.
Okay, what did happen when you put your child in the car?
We got in the car and we went back home.
And why, if there was blood everywhere in your car, why did you get back in it?
Because I had no choice. How else was I going to get home?
And why did you let your child get in the car?
She had to come home.
Couldn't you have called your mother?
My mama was asleep.
Okay.
She's a school teacher. She's not gonna get up that time of night.
And when you stated that the first time you saw blood was on the way to work when you stopped at the gas station.
Right.
Why didn't you get out of the car then?
I was worried about getting to work.
Who, if anyone else, pays the bills in your house?
I pay the bills.
So how would you pay the bills if you didn't go to work?
Exactly.
She asked you about stating, why would he drive the car? Was the question, why would he drive the car, or why would he drive the car to 5 points?
Why would you drive the car? Period.
Okay. And why did you drive the car?
Because I had no choice but to go get my rent money, so I have a place for my child to stay and to go get my child.
And when you see all this blood and she asked you about him cleaning, why didn't you call the police when he's cleaning everything?
Because I was scared.
What were you scared
for my life? Well, I don't know what's going to happen.
She asked you about the plans to go wash your clothes. What were you supposed to do at your mother's house?
Wash clothes.
Why didn't that happen?
Because she was leaving.
Anything wrong with, why didn't you just stay and wash your clothes?
I didn't want to stay at her house.
So what was the plan based on that?
I was supposed to wash clothes while she was there and go back home. But she was leaving, so I wasn't going to do it.
So what became the plan of what to do with your uniform at that point?
He was going to wash my shirt at his sister's house.
And she asked you about, let's go talk about his sister's house. You stated this, I believe, but did he keep clothes at your house?
No.
So at some point he changed his clothes? Did you see him change his clothes?
No.
Did you see where he put the clothes he had on?
No.
All right. Now let's talk about those clothes a little bit. You said gray. Was it dark gray or light gray?
Like a dark gray color.
Okay. And the pants, were they dark or light?
Dark.
And these are the pants that he had on. When did he have those pants on?
Since Thursday.
And did he have his clothes on Friday when he picked you up to take you to work?
Yes.
And when you got home?
He had the same clothes on.
And the person who was wearing those clothing, is he in that courtroom?
Yes, ma'am.
Where is he?
Sitting right there.
I need you to look and identify.
Sitting right there.
What does he have on?
A red shirt.
Let the record reflect she's identified the defendant, Your Honor. Is that the same person you saw driving the black Impala on the 27th, the 28th, the 29th?
Yes, ma'am.
And Mr. Rowland, where did he keep his phones? On his person or in his car?
On him.
And was the phone locked, or could you just pick up his phone and use it?
No, he had a lock on his phone.
How do you know that?
Because once you hit the power button, it'll ask you for a code.
Okay.
And then our iPhone, you have to use his face or his thumb.
His face or his thumb, all right. And that was on the iPhone?
Yeah.
All right. And in asking him about the blood in the car, what did you ask him about that?
I asked, why is there blood in the car?
And what was the response?
My business.
And what about a dog? What did you think?
I asked him to try to be funny, did you hit a dog and put the dog in the car?
And what was the response?
No.
What, if anything, did he ever give you as a reason why there was blood in his car?
He didn't really give me a reason.
We may be coming to the end of this witness testimony.
You saw his car. I believe you said earlier you saw his car at some point on the news.
Mm-hmm. Yes, ma'am.
And I believe you said you put 2 and 2 together.
Yes, ma'am.
Can you again explain to the jury why you didn't call the police then?
Because I was scared.
Scared of what?
For my life and my child.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Anything further?
Just a couple more questions.
Okay.
A little bit more recross, or what was it called when they cross again?
You told us that you had no choice but to get in that car.
Right.
Right? You had no choice but to get in that car and go get your rent money.
Right.
You had no choice but to get in that car to go pick up your
my
dog.
child.
You had a choice, though, when you got in that car and went to pick up cigarettes later on.
No.
Yes, Your Honor. Goes beyond the scope of redirect. Just other questions.
Ooh.
Thank you. You may step down.
Thank you.
Wow.
Ladies and gentlemen, we'll take a 15-minute break. Please do not discuss the case. Wait for the jury to leave. Addressing the jury only.
Apparently the gallery is very anxious to get up and leave during the break. Double cross, crisscross applesauce. Recross sounds correct. Isn't there a word? It was a little bit of a low blow there. You got back in the car to get cigarettes later on? Not sure. Yes, this is Judge Newman. You were recognizing the beautiful tones of his voice.
15 minutes.
So we're going to be in a brief recess here, and as we are, we're gonna skip ahead. You guys don't get the break because we get to fast forward through everything. So give me a second here. Oops, that's the wrong one. I think we're over here. Okay. Next video, next one up. This is going to be, I think we have a detective on the stand, and he's going to show some pictures. This next segment lasts for about 2 hours. We're going to speed it up a tiny bit. We're going to go to 1.25 speed, so it'll go. You can do the math on that, but we have been listening on normal speed. It's going to be a little bit quicker on this one, and let's go here.
Thank you, RMA. Please record. State calls Lieutenant Todd Schenk.
Please solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give this case to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth to help you God.
Yes, sir.
Please have a seat, state your full name for the record.
Thank you. Todd Schenk.
Double cross. Thanks, Rebecca. Good to have you here.
Lieutenant Schenk, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir.
Tell the jury where you're employed.
I'm currently employed with the South Carolina Law Enforcement Division, also known as SLED.
What is your role with SLED?
Content
right now
warning.
I'm the lieutenant of the Crime Scene Investigations Unit.
How long have you been in that capacity?
I've been in the Crime Scene Investigations Unit for a little over 7.5 years now.
All right. And how long have you been in law enforcement altogether?
We're going to see some pictures here.
Okay. You spent your entire career there?
Yes, sir.
Graphic pictures.
All right. And so when you talk about working in a crime scene, what does that mean?
So the job or the role of the Crime Scene Department is, with SLED, we're an assisting agency. So when a local agency calls for help, specifically with homicides or major cases, the Crime Scene Unit will respond and provide forensics expertise with collecting of evidence, documenting the scene, writing reports, so that we can provide a forensic investigation to the local agency that may not have the ability to do a crime scene investigation of their own.
So for those that may not be familiar, when you use words like forensic, can you describe what that means?
Yes, so we're not doing interviews with suspects. We're not the normal investigators you see on TV in the sense of going and knocking on doors. Our job is to respond to the actual incident location or follow-on locations, and our job is taking pictures, looking at the evidence, collecting the proper evidence, or collecting evidence that we believe might be pertinent to the case, and trying to figure out what happened during the crime scene and make sure we document everything we can to provide more information as to what happened during the scene. So forensics is more along the lines of the science role of the investigation.
What kind of training do you have in order to carry out this task?
So at SLED, we have an in-house training. We also go to external training, but the in-house training consists of, we call them blocks. They're more sections. So photography, DNA collection, evidence collection in general, how to write reports, how to maintain case records, how to document footwear and tire tread impressions. And while you're going through these training blocks, you have to read books and articles, which then you're tested on, where you have to take a written test. And then you also have to take a practical examination to show that you're competent in doing such skill. At the end of that training, we have an all-encompassing written test where you have to take the test and pass. After that, you also have, we call it a mock crime scene. Imagine a pretend crime scene where you have to prove that you know how to follow policies and procedures, and you have to be able to successfully complete a crime scene investigation for the mock scene. And we also have a mock court where we have to show that we have the ability to testify. Once all that's completed, you're deemed competent in crime scene investigation. And besides the in-house training, I've also been through external photography training, a bloodstain pattern analysis training, a shooting reconstruction training.
If you had to approximate, how many crime scenes do you think you've responded to over your 7.5 years?
I think last time I checked, it was about 413.
Is that confined solely to the Midlands here?
No, sir, we respond to the whole state, from coast to Georgia. We go everywhere.
Okay. When you respond to a crime scene, what is your goal? What is your intention when you get there? What are you trying to do?
So when we first get to the scene, we try to gather as much information as possible. Sometimes we get a decent amount of information, sometimes we have none. And the job, our job is to try to document the scene and preserve the evidence as best as we can. So our first photographs are documenting exactly what we see, where it's at, how the condition of the area or the evidence that exists in the scene. And we're just trying to preserve and show exactly what was going on during the crime scene, or as we got there, what existed and where it was.
So you say as you got there. On occasion, have crime scenes had people present or walking or driving through and things like that prior to your arrival?
Yes, sometimes we get it where folks have moved things or touched things, or vehicles have driven through the crime scene. Sometimes it's pristine, it just depends on the situation.
Okay. And as a result, if you know that there has been foot traffic or car traffic in a crime scene, does that impact the manner in which you look for certain evidence?
It can. If, for instance, in this case, there's a dirt road and a farmer access road that was also dirt, and we were advised that multiple vehicles had been traveling on this dirt road. So that kind of excludes any other vehicle or tire track impressions that we would really look for, because theoretically they've been contaminated because people driving up and down the road. So that would be an instance.
And that's a judgment call that you have to make as the investigator on the scene, correct?
That's correct.
All right. So let's turn to the case at hand. I want to take you back to March 29th of 2019. Did you receive a call to respond to Clarendon County?
We did.
And when you say we, who are you referring to?
My partner at the time, Delilah Cicerone, her last name was Jazik, so if I refer to that, she got married. But so myself and Special Agent Cicerone.
Also, she is also a crime scene investigator?
She is.
Okay. Why are there two of you responding?
So we respond in at least a pair, so that we have one person can document the scene with photographs while the other person can take notes and collect evidence. But it's also good to get multiple sets of eyes in the scene so that we're not overlooking something or potentially missing evidence.
And for this particular case, on March 29th, do you recall the area in which you responded?
Yes, we responded to, it was a dirt road, if I may refer to my notes.
And did you generate a report as a result?
I did.
And would it help you to refresh your memory to refer to those notes?
It would.
All right, go ahead.
Okay, so we responded to, it was Black Bottom Road, and it was near town Mount Zion, I believe it was, and I'm pretty sure we had to have the local investigators on the phone to kind of talk us how to get to it, because we weren't finding it. But we finally got there, and it was a pretty soft dirt road, and then there was a farmer's access road with a wooded area near it.
You said Mount Zion, could that have been New Zion?
New Zion, yeah, that sounds right.
I'm going to hand you what's been marked as Stake 68 for identification. Can you take a look at that?
Yes, sir.
What do you recognize that to be?
This is the diagram I made of Black Bottom Road and the farmer's access road.
All right. And does that diagram, that copy of that diagram fairly inaccurately depict the diagram as you created?
It does.
Now let's know what else is Stake 68. Okay.
Submit it.
Sorry. And Mr. Chang, excuse me, Lieutenant Chang, if you could just kind of hold that up. I apologize for not having a bigger version, and describe what it is that diagram depicts.
So this area here, it says Black Bottom Road. It's the sandy dirt road. Right here, coming through it, you can see where there's a field, but coming right through here, this is the farmer's access road. And then these pins, I took GPS coordinates of things that we believe to be of evidentiary value on scene. There were two cigarette butts. One was on Black Bottom Road. One was on the farmer's access road. There was a beer can bottle. It was one of those aluminum, it wasn't a glass bottle beer can, but it was an aluminum bottle. And then there was a beer can near the footpath that we located. And the bottom was where the victim was located.
And did you take measurements in regard to those items or not?
So when we take measurements of a crime scene, we use a fixed point in the scene that is easily recognizable, and we call it a reference point. That way you could go back and triangulate where the evidence was within the crime scene. But because it was mainly trees and there was a couple light poles, but nothing I could really reach. So I used our handheld radios, give you a GPS coordinates that you can pin, and that's how I did this, was I actually collected GPS coordinates of each location of each item and then marked them on the diagram.
All right. Thank you, sir. You can put it down. You recall approximately what time of day you responded to that scene?
So we got the call at 16:20, which is 4:20 in the afternoon on 3/29 of 2019. We arrived on scene at approximately 6:03, and it was clear and about 75 degrees outside.
You recall what other law enforcement personnel was there at the time, generally?
There was, I believe the sheriff was out there, Sheriff Baxley, Investigator Huckabee from the Clarendon County Sheriff's Office, And then I believe there's a DNR officer who was out there as well. And then there's a couple officers from the sheriff's office that were out holding scene security.
What information did you have at that time as to what was there and what you were responding for?
So pretty much the initial call came in as the sheriff's office located a found body in a wooded area, and that was pretty much the extent. I was told that there were some hunters that had located the victim in the woods. When we got on scene, we were informed that there were some beer cans and some cigarette butts that were kind of just laying out and around, so that was noted to us. But then other than that, we were told that we had a consent to search the property, but other than that, that was about all the information we had.
When you get to a location like that, what are some of the protocols in place in terms of documenting or making sure that other individuals don't further, if necessary, if possible, contaminate the scene?
Sure. So the sheriff's office in this case had put crime scene barrier tape up, and they had law enforcement personnel there to secure the area, which is a plus. So we know that random folks from the area aren't walking through the crime scene because we know law enforcement have been securing it. But once we've met with the investigators to get our initial information, we'll then begin to take photographs of the scene as it exists. While that's going on, we'll actually pull all the investigators out of the way so we're not taking photos of law enforcement, because we want to show the scene as it exists without us walking through it.
All right. And when you arrived, can you describe, I think this jury's pretty familiar at this point with Black Bottom Road being the dirt road and then the Farmers Access Road. Could you describe where vehicles were parked upon your arrival?
So there were vehicles parked on Black Bottom Road, and if I recall right, they were down the Farmers Access Road as well.
And some of those vehicles belonged to whom, do you know?
I think they were law enforcement. I'm not sure who all the vehicles belonged to.
All right. And so where did you begin with your investigation once you get out? What's the first thing you do when you get there?
So the first thing we do is we meet with investigators to see if any more, because we all respond out of Columbia for sled crime scene. So sometimes when you get to the scene, if it's been a couple hours of a response, they'll have gathered more information. So our first thing to do is we meet with the investigators to see if anything has changed information-wise. Once we're done with that, then we set the camera up and start documenting the scene.
Okay. Do you recall what you began to document first?
So normally I like to start kind of, especially in a field like this, I don't want to start right at the victim. I want to start away and show the conditions of what was around her and what potential evidence may be around. So we started on, if I remember correctly, on Black Bottom Road, documenting that dirt road to later go down the Farmers Access Road.
Okay. You say documenting, you're taking photos?
This is documenting with photographs or taking notes and both.
All right. Once you did that, what area of the crime scene did you move to next?
So once we finished Black Bottom Road, we would then move down the Farmers Access Road to document the path down to where the victim was. And I believe there was a fire break behind where she was, and then we would document the actual footpath that we were able to use to get to the victim. And then we would eventually document the victim.
All right, thank you. Show you what's been marked as states.
We may have some pictures that are shown here that he holds up, crime scene type pictures. Just a warning for that. If that's not what you're looking forward to looking into and discussing, this might be a good time to look into the volcano
165 for
up in
ID purposes
Iceland.
only. If you could just describe generally what those reference.
Christy, we've had a couple trolls come in.
These would be photographs of
the mods of trade
the initial scene
fighting.
as
This
we,
slows down the trolls.
As we arrive on scene.
Okay. And Your Honor, may the witness step down from the. I'm sorry, I apologize. But those photographs fairly accurately depict the scene as it appeared on March 29th.
It does.
All right, thank you. Your Honor, this time, Wade offer states 146 through 165 into evidence.
Anyone who subscribes to the channel can chat, but trolls, when they jump in, they'll make new accounts and chat, and it's like playing whack-a-mole. But if we say you have to have an account that's been a subscriber for 5 minutes, then it slows down the damage they have in chat, and it just makes it a lot easier on the mods. So I appreciate you guys. We normally do have it on subscriber only, but for some reason I had turned it off, and we just turned it back on.
Thank you, Your Honor. Permission for the witness to step down?
Yes.
through 165 has been admitted into evidence, and ask you if you can describe to the jury what it is they're looking at.
Sure.
And if you would refer to the particular item number as you're discussing the photo, please.
This is State's Exhibit 165. This is a photograph looking down. So this crime scene barrier tape, this would be us standing on the Farmers Access Road, and this would be looking down the fire break of the scene behind where the victim was located.
Here's a graphic warning. Some of these may be visible briefly.
State's Exhibit 163. This is a photograph of the beer can, or the beer can bottle that was located closer to Black Bottom Road than it was in the victim. State's Exhibit 162. This is on Black Bottom Road, the dirt road, and this is marking a cigarette that we have used. So these flags were not on scene originally. What we do is, on TV, I'm sure you've seen the little placards that have the numbers on them. So instead of using that in kind of an open area or field, we'll use evidence flags, so it's a little bit easier to see from far off. So that's what that flag is that's marking an actual cigarette butt on Black Bottom Road. State's Exhibit 161. This is a flag in the bushes that is showing the location of the beer can bottle. So for referencing this, the victim is further down in this area, and Black Bottom Road would be back over this way. State's Exhibit 160. This is another evidence flag that we used on scene. This is Black Bottom Road, the sand here. This is the Farmers Access Road, the entrance to it from Black Bottom Road, and that is marking a second cigarette butt with the flag. State's Exhibit 159. This is standing on Black Bottom Road, and this is documenting with the flag a little bit closer of the cigarette butt. And this photo also shows its relationship to the other cigarette butt on Farmers Access Road. And if you go further up this way, that's the location. State's Exhibit 158. This is with your back to Black Bottom Road, looking down the Farmers Access Road, and you can see the crime scene barrier tape on the right side of the photograph, and that's the wooded area where the victim was located. State's Exhibit 157. This is further down the Farmers Access Road, and the footpath that we enter is in this wooded area and up here. State's Exhibit 156. This is standing further down the Farmers Access Road, looking back towards Black Bottom. So Black Bottom Road is up here where the truck is, and the fire break trail would actually be right here, and the victim was in this area, in the woods here. State's Exhibit 155. This is standing on the Farmers Access Road, looking at the path that we took to get to the victim. If you can see kind of where the brush has been pushed down, that's how we gained access to where the victim was. State's Exhibit 154. This is standing on the Farmers Access Road, standing on the other side of the Farmers Access Road, looking at Farmers Access Road. The trail to get to the victim was in this area, and that's the fire break trail, which would put Black Bottom Road up over here.
Some of these pictures are going to be showed when he sits on the stand. He's going to hold them up. They include crime scene photos that
this is going through down that access
part of the
path
victim
in
is
woods.
visible.
The victim is located up right about where my finger is in relation on the photo. And this is going to show where the beer can is. You can kind of see it in this photograph, but this is the beer can near the footpath. State's Exhibit 152. Again, this is coming down the footpath. There's a bit better photo of the beer can. And then the victim, you can start to see here right here on the side.
This trial was in 2021 with Judge Newman prior to Alex Murdaugh.
This is actually a close-up, as best we could, of the beer can in the bush where it was located on the footpath.
So this is South Carolina, Richland County.
State's Exhibit 150. This is on the footpath, looking down to where the victim would be found. The beer can would be over this way, and the victim is lying on the ground right up here. State's Exhibit 149. This is on the footpath with your back to Black Bottom Road, looking down the Farmers Access Road here, and the victim was up around this brush over here. This is State's Exhibit 148. This is, if you continue down that footpath, again, the bush with the beer can is here, and if you look closely, you can see the victim lying on the ground behind those bushes. State's Exhibit 147. This is standing in the footpath, looking through the brush at the farmer's access road. And State's Exhibit 146, this is actually a insect activity that we found on the victim.
Okay, so here's the content warning. Some pictures are going to be shown. The defendant's going to hold them up while he's sitting on the stand.
Can you describe, please, now that we've kind of gotten an overview of those photos of the lay of the land, so to speak, as you're approaching down the access road, can you see the body from the access road?
From what I remember, I could not see the body until we went down that footpath.
Okay. And once you went down the footpath and got towards the body, can you describe how she was oriented?
Sure. So she was lying. I beg the court's indulgence 1 second.
Actually, why kind of let one thing show you. States 20 and 21.
These are the pictures that have. Oh wait. Pictures are coming soon.
This is the beer can bottle from the bushes near the dirt road, Black Bottom Road. And this is the beer can that was near the footpath.
States 20 and 21.
Admit it.
I apologize for interrupting. If you need to refer to your notes, if you could describe, Ms. Josephson, the orientation of her body as you entered into the crime scene.
So the victim was laying on her back with her left arm underneath her and her right arm, or near her left hip, or her, excuse me, her right hip. Her right arm was laid over across her chest near her left hip. Her clothes, we noticed that the bottoms of her, she was wearing some sandals, or like platform sandals, and they were broken, and her shirt was pulled up towards her head with a drawstring going past her head.
All right. And what, if anything, did you observe about her in terms of evidence of some type of injury?
So we noticed what appeared to be stab mark or stab wounds to her, some type of cut, and there was a large amount of blood on the victim, but there was wounds all over her.
When you say on the victim, what do you mean by that?
It appeared that in the skin you could see where she had been stabbed multiple times.
Okay. And what parts of your body, of her body, did you observe blood on her?
So we observed suspected stab wounds on her head, her right shoulder, her right hand, her right leg, her neck, her back, and her right foot.
When you observe a scene quite like that, what is your first step in terms of addressing it from your standpoint?
So the first thing I'd want to do, or we did in this case, is we wanted to identify, was this something that happened here, or was this something that happened somewhere else? So we know that there's a stabbing, or we believe it's a stabbing. It doesn't look like gunshot wounds, so we're not looking for guns or cartridge cases. So we begin to search the area for knives or for blood other than on her to see if maybe she ran from whoever was attacking her. So you kind of just look at what you have and try to figure out, did this happen here, did it happen somewhere else? If it did happen here, what kind of evidence would I be looking for that would show it happened here? And if that evidence doesn't exist, it potentially happened somewhere else. So that's what we were trying to establish.
Okay. And based on your observations at that time, did it appear as though whatever happened to her, did it appear to you whether that occurred on site or perhaps somewhere else?
Based on where she was, how she was laying, different marks on her body, it did not appear that, and there was no blood around her. We looked on leaves and stuff to see if she was fighting, and we didn't see anything that told us that the scene had actually happened in the woods. We believed it happened somewhere else.
All right. And anytime someone has passed away in something like this, does a local coroner's office respond?
Yes, sir. In this case, the Clarendon County Coroner's Office responded.
So do you work with them in terms of logistics of what's going on with the body and how it can be moved and things like that?
Yes, sir. So we work hand in hand with the coroner's office. We will not actually physically manipulate or touch the body at all until the coroner's on scene and gives us permission. So we'll document the victim as she lays. Once the coroner gets on scene and we've gotten everything, we've picked up our evidence so that the transportation for the victim can come into the scene without manipulating or damaging any evidence. The coroner will come in, we'll work hand in hand and make sure that we can document the victim fully and then get the victim out of there.
All right. Excuse me one moment. All right, Lieutenant Shank, I've got a series of photos here that I'm going to hand up and ask you to take a look at. They are States sorry for the number jumble, 139, 144, 143, 141, 40,
Some of these are graphic.
38,
These are graphic pictures.
37,
Just heads up.
42, and 106. Apologies for those random numbers, but here, take a look at that and tell us generally what the photos are.
These are photographs that we took of the victim in her location.
Do those photos fairly and accurately depict how she appeared on March the 29th, 2019?
They do.
All right, this time we'd offer the aforementioned into evidence. Thank you, Your Honor. And Lieutenant Shank, if you could explain to the jury what those photos are.
State's Exhibit 106. This is a photograph, this is a photograph showing the location of the victim on the ground in relation to the footpath and the farmer's access road. State's Exhibit 42. This was the position of the victim as we found her, laying on her back with her arms going across her chest and her left arm underneath her back. And you can see how the drawstring and her shirt pulled up and her shoes are broken. State's Exhibit 37. This is a little bit closer to the torso of the victim. This is showing her left hand as it's underneath her back near her right hip.
He's not looking. He's not looking at these pictures. Thank you, Babs. Appreciate that.
State's Exhibit 38. This is showing the position of her arm. This is showing striations on her arm, the position of her shirt, the blood on her stomach, and the position of her hand.
I want to stop you there for a second. Which number was that?
This is State's Exhibit 38.
Okay. You used the word striations. Can you describe to the jury what that means?
So, if you look on her arm, you can see that there's blood and dirt mixed in on her arm. And they travel either from her elbow to her shoulder or her shoulder to her elbow. They go with the arm. And to me, that shows that something has come in contact with her arm to remove the mud and the blood from her arm.
Is that consistent with possibly being dragged?
I would say so. State's Exhibit 40. This is a bit closer of those striations. And you can see that the bug activity has started.
Never
State's Exhibit 141.
The bug activity.
This is showing Black Bottom Road would be on this side of her. And if you look back up here on the photograph, you can see the trucks. The farmer's access road is running this way. And this is showing the open field that was behind the victim on it away from the farmer's access road. State's Exhibit 143. This is a photograph of the bottom of the victim's foot. You can see that there's blood on her foot. And then you can see how her sandal has been broken. It is no longer attached to her foot. It was attached by the strap on the ankle, but not by the toe strap. State's Exhibit 144. This shows it a bit better. So she's got what appeared to be stab wounds in the right foot. You can see the suspected blood on the bottom of her feet. You can see how both of these sandals are broken here, but they're still attached around her ankles. State's Exhibit 139. This is of the victim's back once we've rolled her over, and you can see more of the striations right around where her pants were.
Thank you. What, if anything, did you observe about her fingernails?
So her fingernails appeared to be broken, or we weren't sure if they were broken or cut or how they were, but they did not appear to be like a normal way someone walks around with their fingernails every day.
So speaking of nails, what, if anything, do you all do with the victim's body physically before the coroner takes the body to do whatever they're supposed to do with it?
Sure. So once we've got permission from the coroner and we've finished documenting the victim, we'll then take fingernail scrapings from the victim to see if she had been in contact with anybody else, to see if there's DNA underneath the fingernails. We would take a buccal swab, which is kind of a big Q-tip that we stick in her mouth so that we have her known standard for DNA comparison. And we would also take fingerprints. So if anything shows up that we need to identify fingerprints on, we would have her fingerprints to go by.
Okay. Can you tell the jury what an alternate light source is?
Yes. So an alternate light source it's a flashlight that has an alternate or a different wavelength than white light. If you've ever been to Chuck E. Cheese where they got the black light and your kid gets stamped with the old way of doing it, that black light, imagine that kind of thing. It's a special flashlight that we use to look for body fluids or blood or fibers on scene. And it's just it's an additional way to process the scene or document what's there.
Did you utilize that in this case?
We did.
tell the jury what you found.
So once we got the victim up onto the stretcher, we utilized our alternate light source, ALS is what we call it for short, our ALS, to document any bruises or injuries that the victim may have that you can't see with the naked eye. And that's what the ALS is good for, is bringing out bruises and injuries.
And did you observe bruises throughout?
From my memory, there was bruises on her sides and her arms, and a good bit of her body shaped bruises.
Okay. At this point in the process, as you're establishing the crime scene, you're beginning to collect evidence and the like on this particular day, did you know anything at this point about what had happened or even who the victim was?
No, it wasn't until, I think in my notes I say it was right before, after the ALS, in my notes I talk about it, was when we found out, or we were told who we thought she was, or who the investigators thought she was. But up until that point, we had no idea who she was or where she came from.
And at that point, the information you were given, I believe, has already been testified to, that it was a missing person out of Columbia, correct?
That's correct.
Later identified as Samantha Josephson.
That's correct.
What, if anything, did you observe about Ms. Josephson's ears or jewelry?
So we did notice that her, I believe it was her left, 1 second. Yeah, no earring was observed in the victim's left ear, which sometimes earrings fall out. Maybe there was a fight and she lost it in the fight. So we actually ran the metal detector on scene to try to locate it, but we never located the earring.
You use a metal detector?
We did.
Is that a common practice?
It is.
All right, thank you. And while you're doing this, you mentioned that Agent Jazik, or what is her name now?
Serencian.
So she was there. Describe again what you all are doing in terms of how you're working together.
So Special Agent Serencian would document the scene. So her whole job that night was to photograph and take photographs and to assist with searching, but it was mainly documenting the photographs. And then my job would be make sure we're keeping up on notes, collecting things properly, and following protocols and procedures, and making sure everything flows and we're not missing anything.
And so you've described for us what steps you took in terms of the crime scene and what you did with Ms. Josephson at that time, correct? And then ultimately she was removed from the scene, is that right?
That's correct.
Do you stay there after she's gone?
In most of the time we do. Well, once the victim's removed, we search underneath the victim to make sure that there wasn't anything under her. Maybe there's evidence underneath where she was laying that we need to find. And then we'll document where the victim was. And then once everything's kind of wrapped up with where we're at, we do a crime scene review or a walkthrough where we take the locals through the scene, tell them what we found, what we saw, how we documented things, and kind of go from there.
Okay. So once you completed all that, about what time was it? How long were you at this crime scene?
We cleared that scene at approximately 0:49 hours on the 30th. So we were on scene from 6 p.m. the day before till a little after midnight.
And what do you do with the evidence that you collect from that scene, like the beer cans, for example?
So once the beer cans are collected, they're secured in my vehicle, and we drive them back to the forensic laboratory where they're stored in an evidence room, and then we go from there, go home, and we'll come back the next day, or a couple days later, and log everything in.
Okay. Did you ever respond back to News Ion again after you left there that evening?
I did not.
Right. You had additional involvement in the case, correct?
I did.
And tell us generally what that involved.
So that night when we got back, we were told that there was a traffic stop conducted in Columbia, and they requested for us to come document the vehicle that they had stopped.
And where was that traffic stop, and what time were you dispatched out there?
The traffic stop occurred at 600 Saluda Avenue, I believe it was. Yeah, 600 Saluda Avenue in Columbia. We were contacted at 3:01, and we got on scene at about 3:26 a.m.
3:26 a.m.?
Yes, sir.
And that's Saluda Avenue here in Columbia?
That's correct.
Okay. And do you recall the nature of why you were called there, other than it being a traffic stop?
So we were told that it was a vehicle that was possibly involved in the death investigation, Clarendon.
Did you notate what the conditions were like that night?
We do when we respond to scenes. It was approximately 57 degrees Fahrenheit with clear conditions.
57 degrees, okay. And were you advised that some items of evidence had been taken off of the driver of the vehicle already?
I was.
Okay. And based on that, what did you do?
So if I remember correctly, the contents were on a vehicle, so they were documented before we collected them.
Okay. Do you recall what those items were?
I believe it was a cell phone, there was a USB thumb drive, a set of keys, a plastic bag containing an edible item. There was also 2 do-rags, another cell phone that I remember.
Okay. And Columbia Police Department was on scene, correct?
They were.
And they actually took some items into evidence themselves. Is that right?
Yes, excuse me. The do-rags and the cell phone, I actually got a chain of custody from one of the officers.
Okay. So once that occurs, what's your role next?
So with that, we document the vehicle where it was, but given the nature of what we were seeing with the vehicle, we waited for a search warrant and for the vehicle to be towed to a more ideal location to process it.
Okay. Did you take some photographs of the vehicle while it was out on Saluda Avenue?
We did.
All right. What would be the purpose of that if you know that you are not going to be going inside the vehicle at that point until you get a search warrant?
So whenever, even if we're going to tow the vehicle, we want to document the vehicle exactly how it was found when we got on scene, what doors were open, what evidence may be sitting inside the vehicle that's easily seeable. That way, if anything gets shifted around while it's towed, we have documentation of where things were in the vehicle. So it's standard practice to document before we ever move the vehicle.
Photographs, but not rooting around in the car trying to pull evidence out yet?
No, I do believe I swabbed a spot in the car, but that was the only thing I did inside the vehicle.
Okay. Your Honor, may we approach briefly? Yes. Thank you.
Quick approach, probably to talk about some evidence. Let's see what they're going to handle here. Let's see. Cameraman, if you could do us a solid. Thank you. It's tough to stay on top of all this. It's tough work, especially when they're pan tilt zoom cameras. They've got one controller. That was the belt cam. Yes. They've got one controller that controls every single camera, so they have to select which camera they want and then manually control that camera or go to a preset on the camera. And sometimes they might have selected the wrong one.
All right, I'm going to show you what's been marked as stage 69 through 82 that counsel has seen already. You can describe what those photos are of just generally.
Let me know if I miss any of the courtroom squeaks for the squeak abacus counter.
These are photographs of the vehicle
when you hear
as it was at 600 Saluda Avenue.
Okay. And do those photos fairly and accurately depict the vehicle as it appeared on Saluda Avenue that night?
They do.
Your Honor, I'll offer 69 through 82. Thank you, Honor. Lieutenant, if you would describe, I'm going to hand you these, just a few here. Stage 82.
This is standing on the median of Saluda Avenue, looking at the side, or the passenger side of the vehicle. There's a cell phone on the hood, and then you can see the items on the roof.
Right. Stage 80.
This is the trunk, documenting that the trunk was open. You can see from here kind of what was in it. This is looking in the driver's door. You can see that the rear driver door was open, but this is the interior of the rear, or the driver door.
And when you're looking at the driver door of stage 78, what, if anything, did you notice about the controls that were utilized with that vehicle?
On this photograph, if you look closely, you can see there's a yellow light that kind of grabbed my attention. Later found out that's the driver door, or the child safety lock and the window safety lock. And it was engaged at the traffic stop.
How did you know it was engaged?
Because the light was on. And I'd later test it to see what happened when you turned it off.
Okay, here's another stage 72.
This is a closer photograph showing contents inside that little door handle, and then the orange light on the child safety locks.
Okay, and let's talk about that for a minute. You said that you tested whether or not that locking mechanism engaged. Can you describe what the child safety lock is and a window lock, and what you did to see if it was functional?
Sure. So the safety lock, when you have it engaged, whoever's sitting in the back cannot open the vehicle from the inside. The vehicle has to be opened from the outside. Same with the windows. The windows can't be put up or down. And to test it, once we were done processing the vehicle later that day, I actually got into the vehicle to try to get out with it engaged. And I had my partner turn it off to show that it did function, and I was able to get out of the vehicle. We closed it, re-engaged it, tried it again, and so we were trying to show that it actually did function as a child safety lock.
And it did function that way?
It did.
So in other words, when that is engaged, what does that mean for the usability or the functionality of the windows and doors in the car?
They cannot be used from the back seats. You can't open anything or close from the back seats.
Did you have an opportunity to review an owner's manual of any kind pertaining to 2017 Chevy Impalas? Not this one in particular, but in general?
I have after the fact, yes.
And what, if anything, did that tell you about this particular mechanism?
It showed that the child safety lock and window lock were actually one button. Instead of, in some old other cars, you'll see them, it's an actual physical switch on the rear door, but this was actually just a button.
All right. Thank you. State 73.
This is showing a cell phone from inside the vehicle.
Okay, does it say what time, what type?
It's an Alcatel.
All right. And state 74.
This is kind of a darker photo, but this is of the rear driver door. You can see suspected blood on the rear bottom of the door.
When you say suspected blood, what do you mean by that?
So we don't call blood unless we can physically prove it. So we have chemical tests that we can do to show that it is presumptive, positive for blood, or is likely to be blood with the test. But if I have not tested it yet, I don't say this is in fact blood because I can't prove it. So I say it's suspected blood because based on my experience, it appears to be blood.
All right, thanks. How is, oh, I'm sorry, one other thing. I'm going to show you states 70, 71, 75, 76. What does 76 show overall?
This is an overall photograph of the trunk of the vehicle and the contents.
Why would it have been necessary to take that photo?
The trunk was open, so I wanted to show what was in it, and then we were going to close the trunk to tow it because I don't want all the contents blowing out on a tow truck or on the road. So just to document what's where in the trunk.
Okay. And you actually did secure at least one item from that trunk, is that correct?
I made the court's indulgence.
Sure. Sorry, I'm jumping around. I'll hand you states 70, 71, and 75.
I don't recall ever seeing this witness testifying.
Yes,
to
sir. There was a black McDonald's visor in the back of the trunk.
Can you show that to the jury and describe what you noted and observed about said visor?
On State's Exhibit 75, it's kind of a darker photo, but it shows it's next to the white Yankee Candle bag. It'd be further up over here. And then on State's Exhibit 70, there's suspected blood on the brim and on the hat itself. And then on State's Exhibit 71, on the underside of the hat, there's suspected blood.
What would be the reason for collecting that item prior to the test?
It seemed strange. It kind of stuck out right at me that there's a hat in the trunk. From what we were seeing with the vehicle, most of the blood appeared to be in the back seat of the vehicle. So the fact that there was a bloody item or a suspected bloody item like that in the trunk, it just kind of stood out to me. So I thought it'd be better to grab it now than let it get shifted around later or potentially damaged by towing with other items falling on it.
Okay. As was testified to earlier, there were several cell phones located in the car prior to your arrival, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
I believe it was 3 cell phones, is that right?
That sounds right, yes, sir.
Okay. Did you collect those cell phones?
I did not.
And why not?
We had our computer crimes experts come out and deal with the cell phones.
And do you recall which agent from state law enforcement took possession of those phones?
Lieutenant Britt Dove.
Okay. Would you have had any other involvement with those items at that time?
Other than photographing the phones, Britt Dove, or the lieutenant, would have collected them.
Okay. And, for example, states 77 depicts one of them, is that right?
Correct.
Okay. All right, so why do you have the vehicle towed back to another location rather than doing what you need to do right then and there?
One, Columbia can be a busy town, so I don't like processing stuff in front of everybody and everyone to see. But 2, it was dark outside, and if we can get it somewhere where we have better lighting to find the evidence, it's, to me, more advantageous to process it with better light.
How's that procedure work in terms of knowing that the car is not altered or affected in any way by way of the tow?
So that's why we document beforehand, because as a tow truck picks the car up to tow it, items may be shifted around. So we document things as they go, and then we will usually ask the tow truck driver to wear gloves so that they're not adding DNA or anything to the vehicle if they have to get into it or whatnot. Sometimes they can just hook up and take it on the tow truck. But we do what we can to preserve the evidence as best as possible, and then someone follows it to maintain the chain of custody.
And you collected some other items from the vehicle at that time as well, like the keys, correct?
That is correct.
All right. And states 16 and 15. You can just look in those bags and tell us what they are.
State's Exhibit 16. These are keys with a pink device on them. And State's Exhibit 15. They're a set of keys with a kind of like lanyard type plastic thing on it.
And those are the keys that you collected?
Those are.
That scene? Currently done. State offers 15 and 16 in there. Thank you, Ron. So the car is transported, where's it transported to?
It's taken to, 715 Bluff Road, which was a CPD facility, or Columbia Police Department facility.
All right. What time did you leave the Salute Avenue scene?
I left at approximately 06:44 hours, so 6:44 a.m.
All right. Did you go straight over to the Bluff Road location?
I did. I got on scene at 07:14 hours.
Okay. And did you have an opportunity to revisit the Impala upon your arrival back at Bluff Road?
First, I responded. I collected some items via chain of custody from Special Agent Jazik, and then brought stuff back to the forensics laboratory to log in, then responded back to actually process the vehicle.
Okay, and what items did you collect from her?
I got suspected blood from the suspect's shoe, swabs of the suspect's fingernails, and then I took those back to the lab with, I believe, the known standard from the victim and then fingernail scrapings from the victim.
Why would it be important to get those to the lab that quickly?
So we wanted to see if the blood in the vehicle was in fact our victim's, to see if this was the right vehicle that we were looking for.
And until you deliver it elsewhere, nothing can be done with it, correct?
Correct.
All right. What'd you do after that?
So then I responded back to 715 Bluff Road to begin processing the vehicle.
And you mentioned that a search warrant had been obtained for the vehicle, is that right?
That's correct.
And so upon making it back to Bluff, what is your objective here with the car now that you're back in a secure location?
So now that we have the vehicle in a secure location and we've got lights and we've got time, our job is to document this thoroughly and search as thoroughly as we can for any and all items that may be potential evidence.
Can you describe where the car was and what the conditions were like?
It was inside of a bay, like a big garage that CPD has, and it was well lit.
Okay. And so do you immediately jump right in, or how's that process work?
No, so first we meet with investigators, kind of make sure no information's changed in the last while since things have been going on and there's an investigation constantly moving. So sometimes more information comes in of certain things to look for, different things that we need to process. Once we've met with investigators, we'll review the search warrant, make sure the search warrant's a valid search warrant, and then we'll begin processing the vehicle.
All right, so in this situation, jumping ahead, what if anything did you observe about the vehicle as you began to process it?
So there was, one of the first things we noticed was there was suspected blood on the rear passenger side rim of the vehicle, the outside of the vehicle. The driver window was observed down, the rear driver window was observed to be about a quarter of the way down, and we could see what appeared to be some type of, it looked like footprints on the inside of the glass of the rear driver door.
Can you describe why you thought that those might be footprints?
Based on the shape. So your fingers, you've got, it's called friction ridge skin, and you can, it's got a movement to it, and there's different things inside of it that you can identify folks with. But so what we're looking for is we're looking for that type of skin to say it's a fingerprint or a footprint. But then based on the shape of it, you could see what appeared to be toes as opposed to fingers. So that's what made me think it was a footprint.
Okay. And so what do you do when you see a marking like that?
So the first thing we do is we photograph. Anything and everything we do, we photograph first. And then we'll put scale tape on it, which is just a ruler that is tape, and we'll tape it so that we can actually have a dimension and have the photograph to scale.
I'm going to show you what's in our states 180 through 182. What are those?
These are photographs of the latent impressions on the inside of the vehicle.
And the rulers on there with them?
Yes, those are the scales that we placed.
Photographs fairly accurately taken?
They
do that now?
They do.
We got states 180 through 182.
Okay, inspection.
Thank you, Ron. All right. And can you just describe to the jury what that is?
So this is the top of the window of the rear driver door. You can see what appears to be a footprint with the toes this is the scale tape where it's got the ruler and the millimeters on one side, inches, millimeters, and then we mark what direction it is. So up the B pillar, which is the second pillar between the driver and the passenger door, and then my initials, date, and then this was marker F. So we'll give each latent print a designation. And then over here, there's more that was latent E.
And the other two, you can describe.
States Exhibit 181. This is showing the direction of the B pillar up. This is G, and in here you can see there's more friction-rich skin on the inside of the glass. States Exhibit 180. This, I believe, was after we rolled the window up. So the window was partially down. When we rolled the window up, we were able to see more impressions, and so that's what marker H was showing.
At this point, it's not your job to try to do any analysis about the print, who it belongs to, or anything of that nature, correct?
Correct.
All right. Did you then have an opportunity to examine the interior compartment of the vehicle?
We did.
And what were your observations once you got inside? We'll start with the driver compartment.
So in the driver compartment, we saw a large amount of suspected blood. We saw suspected blood on the seatbelt buckle receiver, the driver's seat bottom closest to the driver door, the driver headrest, the driver's seat shoulder area, the area between the driver's seat and the center console, so on the side of the chair, and suspected blood on the center console and roof on the headliner above the driver's seat.
When you see areas of suspected blood, what do you do with that?
So most of the time we always photograph them to show the location of them, and then some of them will swab to collect, to have a sample of.
How do you decide what to swab?
In this case, we kind of went for larger areas to show what was, a better sample.
Okay. And what other items were located as you made your way through the driver's compartment?
So there was a wallet in the driver door pocket. There was a Social Security card. There was a Wendy's receipt on the driver's floorboard dated 3/29 of 19 and time-stamped at 12/38. And there was an envelope in the center console that had suspected blood on it. And there was a handwritten list on the back side of the envelope.
What did you do with those items?
The Wendy's receipt was, I believe, collected, at least photographed, and the envelope was collected.
All right. Got some more photos here. These are states 84 through 105, and then 107 and 108. Give those a look. Generally describe what it's.
These are photographs of the interior of the vehicle and the contents within it.
All right. Your Honor, it's time we offer 84 through 105 and 107, 108. Thank you, Your Honor. States 108, what does that depict?
This is showing the driver's seatbelt receiver, and this is suspected blood on the seat.
107?
This is the driver's seat and suspected blood on the shoulders of the driver's seat.
104.
This is the rear driver door. This is showing what the initial traffic stop photo, but a little bit better lit, of suspected blood on the rear driver door.
All right. 101?
This is the front passenger seat showing suspected blood on the headrest and then something on the shoulder.
100.
This is a closer up of the suspected blood on the front passenger seat headrest.
97.
This is another side showing the back of the front passenger seat headrest of suspected blood.
96 and 98?
98 is showing an overall photograph of the rear passenger seat with this top job bleach container on the floorboard, and then this is a close-up of the top job bleach with suspected blood on the bottom of it.
Along those same lines, 94 here.
This is showing from, or this is a better photo. This is this side of the seat showing the top job on the floorboard.
91 through 93, what do they depict? And what part of the car is that in? I'm sorry.
So these are all in the trunk, and this is showing a Yankee Candle bag that has suspected blood on it. This is showing a tan backpack, and here's the Yankee Candle bag again showing some more blood on it, suspected blood. And then there was a bleach, some type of cleaning product with suspected blood on the container.
Okay. All right. Do you then have to, how are you approaching this? Like, are you doing the whole car at once? Are you doing the front, doing the back?
Because of the amount of evidence in this vehicle, we broke it down by compartment. So we did driver compartment, then rear driver, and we tried to quadrant the vehicle up, and then we would do the trunk layer. But try to break it down piece by piece.
Okay. What did you observe in the rear compartment?
So in the rear driver's side compartment, we saw suspected blood on the interior door panel armrest, the interior door pocket, the seat bottom closest to the rear driver's side door, the interior door frame bottom, the seat back closest to the door, the seat belt, the middle of the back seat, the rear of the driver's seat itself, the rear frame of the driver's seat, where the seat is attached to the vehicle, the roof liner on the driver's side, the light switch on the center of the roof liner, and the rear side center console, so on the side of the center console, and the air vents on the rear side of the center console.
You take swabs from those items?
Not all of them. We swabbed the middle back seat, the roof liner, the light switch, and the rear side center console.
We saw pictures of the top job. Were there other cleaning products found in the car?
There were, on specifically that side, the rear driver's side, there was a clear plastic spray bottle labeled window cleaner with a blue liquid. There was a white plastic spray bottle labeled LA's Totally Awesome, and they both had suspected blood on them.
Did you also find a container of wipes in the car?
We did, but I believe those were in the trunk.
Okay.
They found her body the next day,
So it's 23,
but I'm not sure about the car,
25, and 17.
what the delay on the car
Are these
was.
the items you just described, the cleaning products and bottles that you found?
Yes, sir.
All right. All right, for 23 through 25 and 17.
Have a great day.
Thank you, Ron. You said that all but the wipes were in the trunk, is that right?
Yes, sir.
And the others were where?
The window cleaner and the LA's Totally Awesome were in the rear driver compartment, and the top job was on the rear passenger side.
What were your observations about the rear compartment in terms of the odor?
So you could smell what we thought to be bleach. It was pretty pungent. And then when we picked up the floorboards, you could also see that they were wet and things were dripping off the bottom. Something was dripping off the bottom of the floor mats.
Something was dripping off the bottom of the mat?
Like a clear liquid.
Okay. And describe that odor again, please?
It smelled like bleach.
Did you find some gloves of any kind in the vehicle?
We did. In the rear driver compartment, there was a blue plastic glove near the two spray bottles, and the glove was collected.
And then 2 additional gloves located in the front passenger compartment?
That's correct. They were in the interior door pocket of the front passenger door.
It's 27 and 28. If I could have you take a look at those. Actually, if you turn that, yeah.
Yes, sir. These are the gloves. Yes, sir, they are.
Now we got for 27 and 28. No, please.
The previous objection.
We are good. Thank you, Ron. All right, and so you continue to process the car. You're documenting, you're taking photos, you're swabbing. Is that right?
That's correct.
All right. Once you got to the rear compartment and the rear passenger seat compartment, what stood out to you about that area as compared to the rest of the vehicle?
There was a child seat in that seat. There was also there was blood. The blood of the back seat. It looked, compared to the rest of the vehicle, where you could kind of see where the blood was moving, it kind of looked like it was absorbed kind of into the seat or kind of diluted a little bit in the rear passenger seat.
And how would you classify the amount of blood in the back seat based on your view of it?
I can't give an exact amount, but I can say that there was a decent bloodletting, significant bloodletting in the back of that vehicle.
A significant bloodletting?
Yes, sir.
And that is based on your observations of that area of the vehicle?
And throughout the vehicle.
And throughout the vehicle. States 109 through 129. Is that the rear compartment photos?
Yes, sir, they are.
All right, we'd offer 109 for 120.
Right there.
Thank you, Ron. As you described the dripping mat earlier, I'm going to show you States 128. Is that?
That's it. In the photograph, you can see a clear liquid beading up on the bottom of the mat in the photograph.
129.
So this is suspected blood. This is kind of what you'd expect to see. There's, things happening in the blood, movement where it's hitting. It doesn't appear to be wiped in that one.
Can you elaborate on that?
So you can see movement in the blood where something has been in contact with it, but it's still kind of like appears to be a 90-degree mark where it's kind of hit the seat and stay there. It doesn't appear someone had attempted to clean that yet.
Thank you. That was 129?
Yes, sir.
126 and 127, actually we'll just give you 126, please.
So this is looking at the back of the center console, and you can see the suspected blood inside of the air vents and down here in this compartment here.
125, how's that different from the other rear passenger seat that you described a moment ago?
So in this seat, you can see there's a red tint to it, but it doesn't seem like anything's going on with it other than there being a red tint. It didn't look right. So that kind of just brought attention to it.
And then States 119 is a little closer view of that.
This is. You can see, again, the red tint, but there's no patterns. It doesn't appear that there's blood sitting on top of it like the other seats and everywhere else in the vehicle.
120.
So 120, this is one of the door jambs of the vehicle. This is where the door seals here. This is the weatherproofing, and you can see the suspected blood inside the door jamb.
117, what do you observe about the seat?
So this is the driver's seat, and you can see how there's blood flowing off of moving. There's movement in the blood here on the back of the seat.
And did you actually find a container for those vinyl gloves as well?
I believe we did.
Okay. States 116?
Sorry. Yes, and I want to say these were in the front passenger interior door pocket. There was a black tag with a DG hardware of vinyl gloves, and that's what that is.
All right. And lastly, 115.
This is a photograph of the trunk showing the backpack, and there was a pink roll of duct tape in the backpack of the truck, or in the trunk, excuse me.
So pink roll of duct tape?
That's correct.
States 29?
Yes, sir.
Is that the duct tape?
Yes, sir.
All right, we offer States 29. Thank you. Find any clothes in the back seat compartment?
We did.
What did you find?
We found there was a leather jacket in the back seat, and there was a rear passenger. There was a black jacket, and then, yep, I believe it was just a black jacket.
Just a black jacket?
Yes, sir. From the back seat, just a black jacket.
We'll be taking a lunch break after this. My plans have changed. I've decided not to pick up my kid from the airport. I guess family time together is overrated. Just kidding.
This is one black and color jacket, a Robert Comstock size XL from the rear passenger seat with suspected blood.
Is that the black jacket that you retrieved from the back seat?
This is.
Currently, we offer States 22.
So basically, we don't have to end early today.
Lieutenant, can you...
I'm not going to go to the airport.
Do you need some gloves?
Okay, so sure.
Thank you.
Lieutenant, put on some gloves before you grab that, please. He's got feet. What's 2 hours? 2 hours driving? You could walk that any day. No, he's. We just found out that on the same plane with him is a friend from the neighborhood, a good family friend, and they're already going to pick up her, so they're going to pick up him at the same time, just one trip.
What, if anything, did you observe observed then, and do you see now about that jacket?
So there was suspected blood on the jacket when we collected it that night. When we got it back to the lab, we photographed clothing with photographs. We documented with photographs, and we noticed some striations in the jacket itself that we documented with photographs and a scale to kind of show the size of what we found on the jacket.
And again, striations being?
Something came in contact with the jacket that left a mark.
Okay. And you took photographs of that as well?
We did.
Can you point out the areas on the jacket? I know it'd be hard to see where you located those possible striations.
So one was down here, so in this circle area, you can see. I'm not sure if you can see it from where you're sitting, but there are some marks in the leather itself. Up on the right chest. There's that scratch, or some sort of something came in contact with that jacket on the right shoulder, and then down here on the right sleeve. In this area.
They were friends. They were friends before. They are similar age. They're both in college. They're both coming home for the holidays and happen to be on the same
Earlier, when you
flight.
testified about striations, you did so in reference to potential drag, things like that. You described the victim, how there were marks on her that showed that items were moved off of her, possibly consistent with being dragged. Is that the only manner in which striations can possibly appear on a person or an item of clothing?
No, sir.
Okay, can you describe other scenarios in which that can occur?
It's possible that if she was fighting, that if someone was wearing this jacket, that not claw marks, but scratches from fingernails could cause those.
Are those marks on that jacket consistent with that possibility?
I think so.
All right. And briefly states 59 through 67. We're not going to go through all these, but just generally, what are those pictures of?
These are the photographs we took of the jacket.
Okay. And in your review of those photos, how does looking at that compare with the actual physical appearance of the jacket?
I think you can see these better.
In which item?
Specifically, State's Exhibit 60, you can see the striations on the front pocket, the front left pocket. 61 is a close-up of it. 62 is of the right shoulder. 63 is of the right shoulder. 64 and 65, 64 is of the arm. And so is 66. And 67 and 65 are suspected blood on the jacket.
Suspected blood on the jacket as well?
Yes.
All right, thank you.
I have two kids that are 20 or older.
That was in the back seat of the vehicle?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Let's turn to the trunk. This is a pretty comprehensive processing job that was taking place, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and that's part of your training, right?
Yes.
All right. So in the trunk, you found a bag with suspected blood, is that right?
It was a Yankee Candle bag, yes, sir.
Page 26. Is that the bag?
That is.
All right, off for stage 26, the Yankee Candle bag and evidence. And I'm not gonna ask you to take it out at this time, but if you could just kind of describe what that is that's there on the outside of the bag.
So this is suspected blood, and we saw what appeared to be some type of fingerprint or footprint impressions in the blood on the bag. So we collected it for our latent print department to process.
All right, thank you. Did you have an opportunity to locate a set of flip-flops in the trunk of the car as well?
We did.
2019.
And can you describe what they looked like?
They were red and black Nike flip-flops. Then they had suspected blood on the left shoe.
States 19 and 31. You would put those up, take a look.
ASMR has come a long ways since 2019, 2021. They do it better now, and it's much quieter. Certain types of evidence need to be in paper bags so that they don't deteriorate, where plastic might hold moisture and not dry out properly and rot. Paper works better. This is what it actually sounds like when I'm at Wendy's trying to get my sandwich out of the bag.
19 and 31 in there, please.
To the judge. Did you want them out? Oh, I'm sorry. So this is the left shoe. And this is the right shoe.
And you indicated that on the left one there was suspected blood on that, is that right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right, and earlier you discussed the visor. We saw photographs of the visor that was collected. Section 34.
Do you want me to?
You can open it and take a look at it. Yes, sir, I'm sorry. If you could just tell us if that is in fact the visor.
Yes, sir, this is the visor I collected.
Your Honor, it's time we'd offer stage 34 now.
Submitted over objection.
If you would show me here, please.
So this is the black McDonald's hat that we've located in the trunk. As you can see, the suspected blood on the front and back, top and bottom.
Would you like fries with that?
That's correct.
And that was April the 2nd, is that right?
Yes, sir, that sounds right.
I'm sorry. Yes, that's right, April the 2nd. What did you do with the vehicle on April the 2nd? Page 11 of your report.
On April 2nd, we responded back to 715 Bluff Road, and we processed it by I pulled out the rear seat of the vehicle to gain access to the trunk to see if the emergency release of the trunk would work. It did function properly. I also took out the back seat and to document the suspected blood that had fallen through the seat belt and that had gathered underneath on the metal frame of the vehicle.
And what did you observe in terms of suspected blood in the back seat?
Once we took it off, you could see the suspected blood on the base, but we also cut into the seat to show how the blood had gone from the fabric and soaked down into the foam of the seat.
I'm going to show you what's marked states 167 through 169. Do those photos fairly and accurately depict what you just described?
Yes, sir, they do.
Your Honor, you offer states 167 through 169.
For previous objection.
They're admitted.
Thank you, Your Honor. What are we looking at in 167?
In 167, this is with the rear passenger seat, or the rear seat taken out of the vehicle, and you can see the suspected blood that had gathered around the seatbelt latches.
168?
This is a closer up photo of the suspected blood on the seatbelt latches.
All right, and can you describe the nature of that blood in any way? Like how it's, or no?
I'm not sure what you're, sorry.
That's all right, I'll move on. 167.
So this was, as I was cutting the seat, I was trying to show the saturation from the fabric down into the foam of the seat.
So that's actually with the part that we actually sit on is cut open, and that's kind of the interior of that actual seat?
That is correct.
And it's been removed from the vehicle in that photo?
That's correct.
All right, thank you. All right, and then you had, well, a couple other items that you found in the vehicle at that time. A couple more pieces of clothing, correct?
Yes, sir.
Say 32, 33, and 35. Is that one?
think this was collected the night before.
Okay.
On the 30th.
That's all right.
And this is a white jacket from the rear driver's.
Okay. And 32 and 35.
This was a white and color shirt with suspected blood from the floorboard of the front passenger seat.
35
is a white and blue jersey front with, I believe that was from the trunk.
These bags all have some handwriting and initials on them. Are those your initials?
That is.
And you put those on there when you seal these items up?
Well, before I even seal it, I document on the bag what it is, time and date of collection, and then seal it up.
Your Honor, this time it often states 32, 33, and 35 in evidence. All right, if you would open states 32 there, show the jury that I can describe what it is.
There was a squeak in there. And there was another.
This is a white and color shirt with suspected blood from the floorboard of the front passenger seat of the Impala.
All right, she would show the jury. All right, thank you. Yes, ma'am. State 33.
Stage 33 is a white jacket from the rear driver's seat of the Chevy Impala with suspected blood.
There's a lot of suspected blood on the back of that.
What happens to the appearance of blood over time in terms of color?
It starts to turn like this. Sometimes it'll even get a little green like you can see down in here.
Almost done. And as indicated, you went back out there another occasion with the vehicle. This was all done. The most recent one we discussed was April the 2nd, but then you returned to the vehicle on April the 29th, is that correct?
Yes, sir, the 29th.
And that would be some month after this all occurred?
That's correct.
All right, why did you go back there a month later to the vehicle?
We brought with us a trace expert to help look into the vehicle for his purposes.
What is trace?
Our trace department, they deal with fire debris or GSR kits or different types of kind of microscopic type evidence.
Okay, and so what was the purpose of bringing this individual to look at the car?
So that we could document the vehicle and collect cuttings from where we believed different chemicals were used inside the vehicle.
All right, and so that would be for other analysts to do examinations on at a later time?
That's correct.
Okay, and what types of testing who was the individual that was there with you?
It was Michael Moskal, Special Agent Michael Moskal.
He's a sled agent?
He's a Class 3 officer, but yes, he's a sled agent.
All right, and so what types of things does he run tests for? I'll just back it up, I'm sorry, Rob. To your knowledge, what was he looking for?
My understanding is he was doing chemical tests with the bleach.
Okay, to see what exactly it was made of, right?
Correct.
And he would have done that in his own time and another day. You were just assisting in helping get it from the car for him.
That's correct.
I understand, thank you. All right. I'm not going to have you go into great detail about these, but I'm going to have a look at them.
Not sure what they're arguing about here, but interesting camera angle.
I'm going to do this in one very small group and then one big group all at once, okay? So we can get you down. All right, States 56. Can you describe what that is?
This would have been the envelope of suspected blood that we collected from the center console of the vehicle.
And that's the one that was notated having some sort of writing or list of some kind on, is that correct?
That is correct.
All right, thank you. And when you collected that, you passed it on for further examination?
Yes.
Okay. All right, we're going to leave States 56 for ID purposes only at this time. Thank you. All right. States 58, 57, 55, 54, 44, 43, 53, 56, 50, 49, 48, 47, 46, and 45. You've previously reviewed these items, have you not?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And each of these items that I mentioned are all items that you collected in this case, is that correct?
That is correct.
And then after collecting them, you submitted them into evidence, is that right?
That's correct.
And States 58 is dirt from the wheel well, is that right?
That's correct.
Okay. And States 57 is suspected hair?
Yes.
States 55 is more suspected hair, correct, on the Impala?
Yes.
States 54, cigarette butts from Clarendon?
That's correct.
States 44 are a series of swabs, all under one item of evidence. States 44 are a series of swabs from inside the car, is that correct? Items 65 through 79, sled items 65 through 79?
Yeah, that's us. Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. States 43 is a hair from the victim's shirt, is that right?
Yes, sir.
53 is buckle swabs from Ms. Josephson?
That's correct.
Okay. States 52 is swabs from where Mr. Rowland was seated at law enforcement headquarters, is that right?
I believe I got those through chain of custody, but yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. States 51 is hair from the victim's pants, is that right?
Yes, sir.
States 50 is hair from the jersey that was collected, the white jersey?
Yes, sir.
49 are swabs from inside this Impala.
Yep.
48 are latent prints lifted from the interior window of the vehicle.
Yes, sir.
47 fingerprints from Ms. Josephson that you talked about from the crime scene in Clarendon.
That's correct.
Two more. 46 swabs of suspected blood from inside the vehicle.
Yes, sir.
And 45, again, are the nail scrapings and clippings from the victim in Clarendon County. Is that correct?
Yes, I do believe some of those are from autopsy, too.
And autopsy. Okay, thank you. Your Honor, at this time, the state would offer each of those aforementioned items into evidence with the exception of States 52.
Says defense.
A previous objection related to the items from the car.
Will any of those items be subjected or subject to further testimony regarding chain of custody issues?
Thank you, Your Honor. I meant to bring that up. The defense and the state have entered into a stipulation regarding the chain of custody internally regarding those items.
Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, they are admitted. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Your Honor. I think I have. Last three items. Looks like States 170. All right, a little scattered on these three, and then 170. What does that depict?
This is a note we found, or a typed letter we found in the glove box of the vehicle from, it was a notice to vacate.
Okay. Does that photo fairly and accurately depict how that note appeared when you collected it?
It does.
Honors offer States 170.
Objection.
States 30? You don't have to open that one.
Yes, sir. These are some clippers from the rear seat floorboard.
Rear seat floorboard of the Impala?
Yes, sir.
All right. Your Honor, offer States 30. And lastly, States number 18. You could describe what this is and where it was collected from. You might need some gloves for that.
This is a black beanie, field grade with a company, and it said cold-blooded. And this was from the trunk of the vehicle.
What word is in there? Is it black what?
It was a black beanie. Or a skull cap.
Is that also known as a toboggan possibly?
Toboggan.
I've never heard of them called toboggans before. But I'm not a big hat person. He just dropped something on the floor.
What is this that fell out of there? Here we go.
I'm not sure what, that's not part of the hat. This is the hat, and it says cold-blooded. And we did know that there was a hole in the back of it.
You said that it says cold-blooded.
Yes, sir, cold-blooded.
And where was that located?
This was collected from the trunk of the vehicle.
The Impala?
Yes, sir.
Lieutenant Shank, does that conclude the nature of your involvement in this case?
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you. That's all I have. Thank you.
He's like, any more questions?
With regard to the last exhibit, was there the beanie? Was there any testimony concerning anything other than its existence?
Thank you, Your Honor. May I re-engage the witness?
Yes, sir.
Item 18, the beanie that you collected from the trunk, that's what you just showed described?
Yes, sir.
Around the time it officer said it's 18.
Was there any testimony regarding anything other than the existence of it?
Not at this time, sir.
It would be marked for identification purposes at this time.
Well, he did describe the hole in it.
But you have to say where it's from. The foundation. You can't just say, here's a beanie.
Anything unusual about a hole in the cap, sir?
Sure. Sometimes holes exist here for people using it as a mask, so I do notate stuff like that. But as for, I mean, it is a hole in the back of the hat, is all I said.
It's a Cyclops mask.
Was that item later examined by other analysts at State Law Enforcement Division?
It was. You can see the markings on the hat where our scientists would mark, and they can explain that better than I can.
And that would have been analyzed for any DNA evidence connected to said beanie.
I believe it was set for DNA.
Subject to the stipulation regarding the internal chain of custody, regarding these items, the state would offer that item of evidence.
It will be admitted for identification only at this time.
Yes, sir.
That particular exhibit.
Yes, sir.
It'll be marked for identification, but not admitted at this time.
Yes, sir. Marked. And just to be clear for the record, you put it back in the bag.
Did you have the back?
Yes, sir. All right, thank you. So to be clear, Your Honor, that is states 18 traffic.
18?
Yes, sir.
Right. Okay, thank you. And ladies and gentlemen, we will quit for the day. Thank you all very much for hanging in there. We're going to resume tomorrow morning at 9:30. Please do not discuss the case or
We're
allow
going to
anyone
resume
to
after
discuss
lunch.
it with you or in your presence. Please do not allow yourself to be exposed to any matters or information through media or otherwise concerning this case outside of the courtroom. Thank you. We'll see you tomorrow morning at 9:30.
See if they have anything to go over. I think they do have some business here at the end of the day. We might get to see the restraints this gentleman wears today. Let's see if that shows up.
All right, officer, you may step down, or will be subject to cross-examination in the morning, so you cannot discuss your testimony in any form or fashion with anyone in the interim.
Yes, sir.
And so we'll see you in the morning at 9:30.
Thanks, sir.
Any other matters before we leave for today with regard to the lawyers here?
No, sir.
Nothing, Your Honor.
All right, we're going to have some issues I'm going to address with the media, but Other than that, court is adjourned for everyone else. Want Solicitor and Defense Counsel to say.
I guess we have to stick around for the media. I think they're going to do a belly chain here on him. Yep, I'm hearing the chains.
Yes.
He is in custody, so he's
So
going
I'll
to
give you
be
this.
secured
Here's
again.
233, by the way.
Oh, is that the judge? Okay, that's one.
I need to.
Waiting for the judge here to come back and tell us what's up. Oh my goodness, driving 9 hours from Florida to North Georgia. Thanks for giving me something to listen to. Pete Will for real. That's a fun drive. Did it twice in the last week. Drive safe. Drive safe. When I crossed over from Florida into Georgia, there was a major traffic accident headed south, and a Bronco had been pulling along like a travel trailer, and it flipped on its side. The Bronco was actually lifted up in the air because of the way the hitch had turned it, and it blocked all the lanes of southbound traffic. And there was a traffic jam that went probably for about 10 miles, just bumper to bumper. It's crazy.
I understand that the camera producer or someone, technologist, wanted to address the court regarding something. Yes, sir.
Yeah, just our camera position up there to see the one right in front of you.
Mask down so I can hear you a little better.
The camera to the right of the clerk of the court. Yeah.
The one up to the bench?
Yeah.
Okay.
I wanted to see about raising that a little bit. Maybe a foot and a half, bring something in just to raise it up.
Okay, and for what purpose?
So we're not looking up her nose.
It gets blocked.
Okay. You mean one of the cameras in...
Yeah, when the monitor comes out, I have to spin it to get the...
And the camera shows who? What does it show?
The camera's usually on the attorney, whoever's speaking there.
Oh, okay.
And then if they bring that monitor out that covers, then I spin it around to get to the witness.
All right.
So if I could just raise it a foot and a half.
Yes, okay. I'm glad I asked you before I informed you of this order. But yes, you can raise it to see folks better.
Okay.
Yeah, that's fine. All right, thank you. Other than that, I've prepared an order regarding media coverage of the court proceedings. Of course, I've already authorized media coverage, but I've prepared an order to sort of make clear what can be recorded and what can't. I have some concerns.
This was already followed.
Regarding any type of photography and recording when court is not in session, when we're not in the actual trial, but during the breaks or during times when the jury is not in, lawyers can be doing some preparation. Many things occur outside of the presence of the jury, and matters occurring outside of the presence of the jury. There should be no audio of those things, those conferences, and just the courtroom in general, and some other limitations regarding video when the judge is not on the bench and the court is not in process. And
okay, so
I did address the movement of the camera. I said video cameras which were installed before the beginning of the trial may not be moved from their fixed positions. So you've gotten in under the wire on that one. So that's why I'm glad I addressed you first. And I have a copy of these of this order that I've signed, about 7 or 8 copies for the media to have, and one for the solicitor or the clerk. And
all right. Okay, so we're gonna
one for the clerk and one for.
We're gonna bail on that because we're gonna go to lunch. It's time for lunch, and there's nothing else happening. When we come back, we're gonna have another witness that is that may also have some content warning that goes along with it, just because it is crime scene testimony. I think it's more SLED or investigator testimony. That's gonna be after lunch, so we have that to look forward to. Let's see. Let me back that up. That's gonna be the start of day 3 of the trial. I think there were 6 days in this trial. We're trying to get through all 6 this week, so that's why we're listening to it a little bit faster and trying to just haul through all of this. But we're going to do lunch. We talked about food long enough. Everyone is starving, so let's hopefully get a little bite to eat, get a little break. I think if we do 1 hour and come back at 1:30, that should be enough. We were at 12:30 right now Eastern time. We'll come back at 1:30, and then we'll begin with day 3 of this trial. This is a replay trial. This is from 2021. It is Judge Newman. We're sort of honoring him as he goes into retirement at the end of this year. He will be done being a judge. He's served his time. So it's a chance to go back and watch this. This is one I did not watch it initially when it happened. A lot of people maybe heard about it. A few of you watched this all the way through, and I appreciate the information you guys provided for me just on the side, the burner phone and everything. But we're gonna go ahead and continue this and get it all wrapped up, because during this holiday week, not much is happening in the courts live. There's not much happening. Most judges are not trying to impanel a jury out there right now and saying, hey, since you don't have anything going on the week before Christmas, how do you like to sit in court all day? It just doesn't, you don't get much of that. So instead of just having nothing for you, we're going to watch this old one from the archives together, and then we'll be back. So 60 minutes, right? Oops. Helps. I almost started the birthday song. Can't do that. There we go. All right. Anything we need to cover? Let's see. It's only Tuesday, so Matthew doesn't have his new video out yet. For those of you who haven't hit like, Judge Newman is going to hold you in contempt of court. This is true. This is straight from a lawyer, so you can trust it. He would not lie to you. This is a terrible crime. As we get into more details of the crime, it gets worse and worse, unfortunately, and ended with death. But it's a terrible crime, and we'll see if he gets what he deserves at the end. Obviously, this happened a couple of years ago, so we could fast forward and read the ending, but we're not going to do that. We're not going to do that. We'll be back in 1 hour. 1 hour, Ashley. Thank you very much, all of y'all. Ro, have fun over at EDB. Hope she's having a great stream today. She's fantastic, by the way. You can tell her I said that. Lunch poll upon return to find out what people ate. I don't know. That'll just make me regret what I ate, which is hopefully, no, it's not going to be pickles in a Hot Pocket, but we'll find something better. Something better. Tonight when you go home, please hug the people you love. Smile at someone, make their day just a little bit better, and please stay safe till we come back at 1:30. That's 1 hour from right now. Right now. We'll be back. Is there anyone we need to go visit right now? Do you want to guys, for those that are working through lunch, I realize there's some of you that are maybe on the road, might be busy, might be doing something. Let's see. Melanie Little. You guys want to go to Melanie Little? She's talking about the plaintiff filing. Well, we'll jump over to Melanie Little for a little bit. We'll be back after lunch. Have fun. If you're going to go on break, tell Melanie hello. We'll see you guys after lunch. Be good. Bye.
Scratch all that. Oh, that was terrible. I apologize.